said, he's getting you together here. Trying to bring in your intro. Because he's writing up an intro for you. I've been like, yeah, Mr. Schoolboy himself. Yes, sir. You know it, sir. Now, what you doing? Writing the Bible? What's up to the chat? What's up to the chat? What up, chat? Upper Echelon, what's up, fam? See Rich. Sporting Dog Firms, what's up? Lefty, Dread up. What's up, fam? Mike Lee, Windu, Vinny, we hunt Kennels. Gallery Kennels, what's up, fam? Eric Collins, AJ, KPK 504, what up, fam? Twan Mully, Knucklehead Kennels, what up, fam? That Farm Bay, what's up, baby? AQ Henry and Kennels, what's up, baby? 614 in the house, represent, homie. Larry Moreno, Mike Bishop, what up, fam? COVID 500, welcome back, homeboy, what's up? Prentice Carl, what happened, fam? Horndall, what up? SBO Kennels, what's happening, fam? SBC Kennels, what's up, fam? Are you ready? Our guest tonight is a world renowned and has accomplished many things in this dog game. He has produced 14 champions, 4 grand champions, and 4 registers of merit. Introduction, the man, the one and only Richard Schoolboy Garcia! What's up, fam? Oh, yeah! I'm in the house. Twin 2 taking over. What's up, people? Come on.
That's right. Mr. Richard Schoolboy Garcia is in the house, everybody. Y'all take care of them dogs. Y'all feed them. Y'all get some collars on them cars, y'all tight. Well, here we go, y'all. Here we go. Here we go. Yes, sir. What's up, people? What's up, fellas? Had a busy day today. Ran a little late, but we made it in anyway. Let me just get the thing started off right. Make sure y'all done check the dogs. Make sure you done fed them. Cleaned up that shit. Gave them some goddamn fresh water. You know what I'm saying? Make sure everything is tight. Ain't nobody gonna get loose while we doing this show. All right? Let's jump right into this. We're gonna get right into this show here. That's right. The man we've been waiting for. It is a privilege and a pleasure and an honor to have Mr. Richard Schoolboy Garcia on our show. Mr. Garcia, are you with me, sir?
I'm with you. How you doing?
Okay, we're going to get a mic check to make sure everybody thumbs up and you can hear Mr. Garcia. Go ahead and say hi to everybody, Mr. Garcia. We're going to do a quick sound check to make sure they can hear you clear.
All right. Can you hear me okay?
Thumbs up, guys, if you can hear Mr. Garcia. We need to see that. We need to see them thumbs to make sure we can hear you good, all right?
Salute to everybody. Salute to everybody. Much respect.
Get the thumbs up. Thumbs up yet? We got thumbs up. Okay, Mr. Garcia, go ahead, bro. We're going to introduce you. We already introduced you to everybody. Go ahead and do them shout outs. Everybody say thumbs up. They can hear you loud and clear.
Thumbs up, thumbs up.
Right. Salute to everybody. I'm excited. Thank you for... Yes, sir, I'm here. How you doing?
Okay, then, Mr. Garcia, this is, like I said, it's a privilege and an honor to have you on the show tonight. I want to start off by asking you to go ahead and just let everybody know, for those who don't know who you are, give them a little short version of the schoolboy.
Short version is I got involved with the dogs in 1978, and honestly, the whole reason for getting involved with them was to compete. You know, that was my whole intention from the beginning. And you know, like most people, I got registered dogs, street dogs, dogs out of the newspaper, and then I eventually, you know, talked to people. There were several dog men in my area, in my town, and you know, word gets around. You visit people, you know, make connections. It takes some time, but you know, eventually we get together and you know we do our thing. Started off rolling dogs, and then you know I really wanted to match dogs. I didn't have any help. I didn't know what I was doing, but I got in there anyway, you know. And from there, it just kind of kept going. I stuck with it, you know. I was only 18 when I started, and I already had a son. I was with my wife, you know. It was from the beginning. It was a family thing, anyways. And you know, I started making connections. I had bully son dogs from by way of Bobby Hall and Ken Click. Back in the day, I had some Heinzel dogs, Boleo dogs, and then I hooked up with Ronald Boyle, and those were probably the first dogs that I got that were consistent, that you know I could compete with. Even though I didn't know what I was doing, I went, you know, balls to the wall. And I had a little dog named Ronnie. He won one, then he lost to Grand Champion Badger. Had a bitch named Hank. She was the Boomerang bitch from Boyles. I lost with her. Then I won with a little female named Smoke Girl. She was off Boyles. Smokey. He was a 3-time winner, and I think he had a long lost almost 2 hours to Rebel Kennels. And I got another male from Boyles named Blue Eye. I won with him. I think I won with him in an hour, and I won with Smoke Girl in in 45 minutes. But that little Ronnie dog, he was, you know, I didn't deserve the dog at the time because I had no clue or little clue about nutrition and conditioning, you know. He was a lot better than someone like me at the time. He's what I based my future dogs as far as gameness and ability. So, little 34-pound dog, and he had everything, man. Ability, had a decent mouth, you know, fast, smart, incredibly game. When I went into Badger, you know, again, I didn't have the nutrition down or the conditioning down, and he was losing almost from the beginning. So I picked him up at 52 minutes. He was unconscious, and I was stepping out, and Bobby goes, "Hey, schoolboy, see if that dog was scratched." So I shook him, woke him up, cut him loose, you know, faced him up, cut him loose, and he drug his back end, scratching into Badger. You know,
Wow.
He didn't survive too long after that. But man, I miss that dog to this day.
Mr. Garcia, Mr. Garcia, can you do me a favor? Can you pick up just a little bit on your volume, just a little bit?
Yeah, let me see here. Yeah, I got it all the way up.
Okay, that's good.
Is that better?
That's better. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm having trouble hearing you now. Let me try this. How about now? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We good now.
Okay. Now you was talking. You said when you first started out, you ran into Ronnie Boyles. So you were actually messing with the Boyles dogs in the beginning.
Yeah. Those are I would consider those the first, you know, consistent, solid dogs to do it all that I ran into. You know, the Bully Son dogs, I won with a couple of them. I lost with them. They just, you know, that the ones I got, and I'm not saying this about all Bully Son dogs, but the ones I got, and they were rough as hell. They could fight, but a lot of them quit, you know. And the Heinzel dogs, they were good game dogs, but because they were so tight bred, so inbred, you know, they didn't have a lot of ability, you know. And when I say polio dogs, you know, I preferred the dogs from Boyles that had more bolio in them, you know. Later on, he added, you know, Champion Bumper and Euler Jr. and what was that other from Grady Cummings? It was the Eli dog. He added that. That's what Smokey was off of. And just you get all kinds of dogs. I even got dogs off the street, you know, pit bulls. They'd be running around loose, you know, I'd get them. and I would say probably my favorite thing to do, you know, conditioning is up there, breeding is up there. I consider myself a pretty decent breeder, you know, but I really love handling. So I'd handle any dog, you know. My dog, your dog, his dog, her dog, stranger's dog, anybody, you know. I've taken over matches for people that got bit and hurt, you know, and just to get in there and do it. I just love to, you know, back then it was more wide open.
Right.
So, you know, during the cooler weathers, you'd probably be rolling dogs every weekend. You know, one here, one there, up to 10, 20 dogs at a time sometimes, you know. And I just really liked it. That's where the action was. It was, you know, I could live vicariously through the dogs being in there, even though I wasn't fighting, they was, but I was like, you know, in their corner, you know. And I just, you know, I was raised around dogs, all kinds of dogs, you know, and we had working cattle dogs. My dad worked for a big agricultural company, and they had beef cattle and dairy cattle and all kinds of agriculture. So we had cow dogs that would work them cattle all day long, you know. And
wow.
It was just, you know, I had a good time. When we were kids, you know, I got my first gun when I was 8 years old. And you just born around guns, you have guns, you know. When I was an adult, I probably had 21 rifles, shotguns, handguns all the time. you could ride around at that time. You could ride around with a gun rack in your pickup. You know, when you're 16 years old, going to high school or wherever you're going. You know, with the guns on the gun rack and your pistol under the seat. You know, there was no violence, no, you know, like you're hearing today. It was just kind of natural. And I was raised country, so that's the way, you know, people were. And being raised that way, everybody knows everybody. You know, you work for different people doing this and that, and you just, you know, everybody kind of gets along, and you know, all different kind of races working, and just, you know, it was that way. And so guns and dogs and, you know, game foul and horse racing, you know, it was just, that's kind of the way I grew up, you know. And you know, horses expensive, chickens are okay, but you know, you can get close to a chicken, but not like a dog. And I was raised with dogs, it's just like a natural progression into the dog world. And you see, you know, Stratton's book, start, you know, the old Armitage book, and you know, eventually get into the Sporting Dog Journal, Pit Dog Report, and Pit Pal, and those, you know, magazines, old Pete Sparks magazine, Your Friend and Mine. You know, you just gather as much information as you can, and I love the history of it too. All that was fascinating to me, you know, reading about all them guys. I always held Earl Tudor up there as number one, you know, back in the day. And then, you know, as you get, you know, into the breed, you start going around traveling. You know, I've been all over the U.S., different states through the U.S., Europe, Panama, Honduras, all over Mexico. You know, even great shows in Mexico. You know, and it's just a natural progression to, if you're involved in the dogs, that you're gonna, you know, try and be a part of them as much as you can. From there, you know, later on after I retired from competition, you know, I didn't want to, but I was forced to because I got busted for dog fighting for the second time, and I couldn't have dogs. I had a court order. I couldn't even own a Chihuahua.
Wow.
So I got into, you know, judging weight pools and confirmation shows, you know, doing seminars. And because I speak Spanish, I can do seminars and judging in Mexico or in any of the Latin countries, you know, Central America or South America. So one time, me and the Havana boys, we did a seminar in Mexico. That was fun, man. We had a good time. And I've known Chico for, I don't know, 30 years, you know, good people. Met a lot of good people. I know a lot of the old heads, some of the newer guys, you know, Jerry Bean, Jim Simpson, Mr. Gray, Danny Burton. You know, me and Danny, we always get along. We love to sit. We probably don't see each other every 5 or 10 years, but when we do, we just kind of go off to the side by ourselves and just chat, you know, just sit and talk, you know. He's been to my house, you know. I used to, back then I went through a period where I would hold either single matches or conventions at my home once a month. And then we had the hack fights with the game foul every 2 weeks. And then the Mexicans are really into quarter horse racing, so I do that once a month. And that's about all I did for several years, you know. Just a lot of fun, you know. We gamble on the side, you know, you roll dice, and, you know, like that, and just, you know, survive. I lived out in the country in the middle of a almond orchard, you know. Anybody in the chat, if they was back there during that day, they'll remember that spot. It was a great spot, you know. I had a patio in the back of the house on one side, and then another cement part on the other side. So behind the house, that's where we had the dog pit. We do the shows there, and then on the other side, I had it set up for the roosters, and we do that there, you know. Sometimes we'd have so many people that we would just, I'd have people sit on top of the roof of the house and look down at the pit. Badass. Yeah. Danny Burton been there. Ronnie Anderson, he was a good friend. He always treated me good, you know. And you know, Ronald Boyles, he was one of the few that, you know, it didn't bother that I would talk to him for 5 hours on the phone, you know, or 3-4 hours, ask all kinds of questions. I was a dumb kid. I didn't know nothing, but he was real patient, always straight up with me, you know. And I might have bought 1 or 2 dogs from him, but most of them he just gave me.
Wow.
He gave me that little Ronnie dog. He gave me Blue Eye. He gave me, you know, Smoke Girl. You know, he was just that way, man. And I kind of later on, I don't know if it was conscious or not, but you know, he was that way. So, well, I kind of got to be that way. If I, you know, wanted to help somebody out or a friend or something, you know, I'd give him a dog, because for me, it wasn't just important that I did my own dogs myself. That meant a lot, you know. But if someone else could take my stuff and use it and do good with it, then it kind of reflected and let me know, hey, you're doing okay, you know, you're doing something right, because this person can take your dog and win with it or use it or whatever, you know. And you know, that was reciprocated. You know, I got several dogs from people that you know, they wanted me to use, or you know, we trade dogs or something like that. You know, we made helped make PB's champion Knucklehead a champion. Let the Cat and Company used him for his first one. He won in 40 minutes. Then we used him for his second. We beat Vinny, a dog he got from Floyd Boudreaux named Ali. We beat him in 22 minutes. And then Tito and the local boys did him his third time. He won in an hour 26. And then I got champion Dawson from Don Grote. I had him before his career started. He sent him out to me. He was a weird dog, man. You couldn't get close to him. You couldn't pet him. If you walk up to him in his chain, he'd run away like you were gonna kill him, you know. He wasn't aggressive, but he was just so introverted, so shy. He wouldn't even work, you know. He wouldn't walk on the lead. He wouldn't do a meal. He wouldn't do no road work, you know. The only thing I could get him to do was flirt pole. So I got him up to 30 minutes on flirt pole on his chain, and he won in 31 minutes. Then I sent him back to Don, and he won in an hour 10 and 11 minutes, like that, or hour 11 and 10 minutes. It was funny because I asked Don, I told him he knew how he was, you know, and I asked him when I sent him back, you know, I said, how did you work him? He goes, oh, I hand walked him and put him on a mill, you know. I said, really? Hey, he wouldn't do nothing for me, man. So well, maybe you're a better dog man than me. Now I couldn't get that fool to do nothing. You know? And he was a good dog. You know? I looked at him against Big Red for about 15 minutes. He was rough, right teeth, scratch hard, all that. You wouldn't hesitate when you faced him up, but you could not. I couldn't anyway. You know, just get nothing out of him, man. You know, it was just probably by mistake, by accident, that I figured he would work a flirt pole because he got a hold. You know, I left the hose nearby, and he got a hold of the hose, and he chewed it all up. I said, well, maybe if I leave him on there, I can get him to do a flirt pole. And he did. He picked up on it right away, you know. But anything else, he would take him off the chain, and he hit the ground on his belly. He wouldn't, you know, you have to drag him and get him to go. But other than that, he was a good dog. He was gospel cross.
I hear all these great names that you're writing off. Don Broke, Ronnie Boyles. I mean,
yep.
Danny Burton. I mean, my question to you is, was it a combination when you was coming up on your conditioning, you know, and your eye for dogs? What was it? Was it a combination of all those people in your experiences with them? I mean, Havana, Chico, these are good guys.
Yeah, good. That's a good question. In 1983, you know, and before that, you know, when you started getting around and people allow you to come around and they invite you to shows, probably the first person that I saw that I thought the conditioned dogs, you know, just looking, you know, when you see, you know, I'm a boxing fan too, so with two fighters, you know, you can get to where you can tell whether they're in good shape or not. And it's the same thing with the dogs. You can kind of look at them and they look good. It's not just that they're thin, it's not just that they're, you know, down in weight, but it's their muscle tone. It's a lot of it is their attitude, how they're feeling, whether they're sharp-eyed and pointed, you know, their energy they give off, their gait, how they walk, all that. So I saw T.L. Williams, Gina, and you know, when I seen her, man, she looked good. You know, conditioning looked right. she fought a little. She was kind of a OFRN cross, you know, kind of a even like show dog bred, you know. But she was a good bit, and she went into this little Heinzel bitch, and man, she broke her leg, both legs in 16 minutes. It was done, you know. And then in about 1983, I think it was, we took 2 weeks off, we went to a big old convention in Louisiana at Sam Curry's house, you know. He had a badass bitch named Blondie. She was just a killer, man. And she wasn't on the card that day, but during this 2-week trip, you know, through Perry Williams and Bobby Smith, you know, Smith and Walton, you know, we stopped along the way. So we stopped at Bert Sorrell's place, we stopped at Jerry Hammond's place, we stopped at Don Mayfield's place, you know, just visiting. Then at that convention, you know, that's where I first met Danny Burton. That's where I met Ronnie Anderson, you know. And it just, a lot of it, I guess, is my demeanor, you know. I don't talk a lot. I'm real polite, you know, that's the way I was brought up. So people would open up to me a little more than they might someone else. And I was a kid, you know. A lot of times, older guys, they like being around kids, all that. But you know, kid meaning about 20, you know, early 20s. So at this convention, Ronnie Anderson was hooked up, and he had a dog named Brutus. Brutus was out of Hammond's Rufus and a bully son bit. And he had another dog named Freebie. I forget how he was bred. Both of them were going for the championship. And he asked us, he goes, "Hey, you guys want to look at the dog?" "Yeah, sure." So they had him inside a mobile home, like a trailer with fans going, because it was real hot and muggy. This was in the middle of August in Louisiana. So anybody familiar, you know what that weather's like. It's hot, humid, muggy, you know. And then there was a little dog named Buck. He was the son of champion Tonka, you know. So he takes us in there to look at Freebie and Brutus. And man, when I seen them dogs, I said, that's what conditioning looks like. Because they were, you know, this is the way I explain it. You could see every bone on their body, and every bone was covered in muscle, you know. Just sharp-eyed and just, you know, real focused, you know. And I forget how long it took Freebie to win, but Brutus won in like an hour something. He beat Robert Kirkland. Forget who Buck went into. All of them looked good. It was a good show. But I met Danny Burton there. I met Raymond Hope, Mike Thibodeau, you know, the Cajun. Let's see, Mr. Gray was there. Just a lot of people you hear about. I think Richard Fisher was there. You know, DJ DiGirolamo, just all these guys you read about. You know, I was meeting, you know. Raymond Holt had took over the Pit Dog Report at one time. He had Grand Champion Booger, he had Holtz Jeremiah, you know, he had Sharon Gitterholt, a lot of famous dogs you read about, you know, after the fact. And it was just an exciting time. So because I loved the competition and that was my interest, you know, I would look at dogs and see, well, you know, who do I think is in good shape, not so good a shape? Who do I think is going to win, you know? And as I progressed, you know, I got pretty good at it, you know. I got pretty good at conditioning, I got pretty good at breeding, you know. I love handling, you know, there's the art. And you know, that talking about handling, you know, you did a video, you know, and you gave a lot of good information. And this is something, you know, me and Bach talked about. And you know, also your chat you did on the rules, you know, spot on, just correct, you know. And then when you talk about your schooling and how you like your dogs, the pace and all that stuff, me and Bach talked about this. I've known Bakri for years, on and off, you know. Way back then, he talked about going to my house, you know, matching the dog there, you know. And we did a lot of things the same, even though we didn't convert, you know, even though we didn't talk about it, schooling and how you condition certain things. And that's kind of the way, you know, I got from you when you were talking. I was like, yeah, I did that. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, what he's talking about. Yeah, that's spot on. Yep. So a lot of it is common sense. A lot of it, you come to these conclusions, just, you know, what do I want to get out of a dog? How do I want them to be when they're in shape? How do I want to breed dogs? How do I want to handle? Do I understand the rules? What if this happens? What if that happens? If you're refereeing, you got to, on the spot, you got to take care of whatever situation it is. And you got to talk about them before and all that. And the rules, no rules are complete, but the one thing about the rules, there's two things they say. No dog can have an unfair advantage, and fair play must be observed at all times. So if you take that literally, then you can adjust if something comes up that ain't in the rules.
That's right.
Follow that guideline. So just like Buck, when you were saying all this stuff, you know, I'm going, yep, he's right. And you know, you can't fake all that stuff. You can't bullshit your way through. You can't read a bunch of books and read a bunch of magazines and read the history and talk to all these old heads and talk to all these people and come up with these conclusions. The only way to do that is if you went through it and did it. And that kind of legitimizes people for me anyway. I don't have to know you. And I heard about you guys in the past, and I have respect for everybody. But we never talked, and we never knew each other that way. But just the way you present yourself and how you talk and what you talk about, there's no way that you could not be legit. And you know, I have a lot of respect for you guys for that. And that's just common within the team. And when I talk to people, I can tell within 5 minutes whether they're bullshitting or not, or whether they're telling stories, or whether they, you know, and a lot of people are honest. They come out, I don't know shit. Well, you know, I need help. Okay, I need help. Some people try and front, and they try and, you know, make themselves out to be more than what they are. And you don't have to do that, because everybody starts off, they don't know shit. Even if you have a mentor, you still have to go through it. You still have to do it. You can have your mentor standing there right next to you teaching you. I didn't have that, but you can have that. You still got to do it. You still got to be hands-on. You still got to go through it. If you don't, then your experience is limited, you know? So, you know, within all that, talking to all these people and getting around and that, I just, in my mind, you know, how can I get that? Once I got the nutrition down, and once you know, I understood conditioning, teaching the dog, and, you know, recovery, you know, rest and all that, how to build them up, how to get them to the point I wanted, you know. And there's one thing you said that you know, again, we agree on all this. You talked about pace. Well, in my mind, if my dog could set a pace that the other one can't keep up with, their conditioning is going to run out before mine is. I'm going to win. Because if you can't breathe, if you can't go no more, you know, if you're off balance, you know, mine is faster, stronger than yours. Even if yours bites harder, I didn't care about that in that sense. If I can get on you and stay on you, you ain't gonna get no leverage. You ain't gonna be able to bite me hard. I'm gonna throw you around. I'm gonna bang you around. You know, my dog's gonna be on you like that until you either can't go or don't want to go. You know, you're either gonna quit or you're gonna get picked up. And you know, because that's how I kind of like my boxers. I follow guys that are like that, real business, real, you know, always doing stuff. People talk to me, what kind of dogs you like? And there's conversations all the time. You like a stifle dog, you like a head dog. Everybody has their preference. For some people, you know, I kind of like an all-around dog that can kind of do it all. You know, rough, aggressive, but not stupid. But the one thing, or the things that I talk about are speed and strength. You know, I like my dogs to come out the gate, no hesitation, free them in the corner, stay in hole, always busy, always doing something, don't turn, things like that. So those are the type of dogs that I bred. When they exhibited those traits, those are the ones I stuck with. And I had other dogs that I could win with, and they were good dogs, but they weren't good enough to breed them. So I would use them, but I wouldn't breed them. Other people might like them, other people might breed them. And I would send them the dog and tell them, hey, keep this dog, I don't want it. What's wrong with it? And they just, you know, they don't fit my program. They'd do him, man, Richard's a good dog. Yeah, it's a good dog. It's just not good enough for me. A buddy of mine, we did a show in Southern California not too long ago, and we got to talking dogs. He goes, yeah, Richard, I remember going down to your spot, this and that. He goes, you know, El Mexicano, he used to tell me way back then, he goes, man, school boys get rid of dogs that I would have kept, you know, I would have took home, and he's culling them, you know. It's just, I was just that way, you know. And culling don't mean, you know, people got them to it don't mean killing everything, you know. It just means you don't keep that dog in your program, whatever you do with it. And a lot of people, you know, they don't, you know, they not that way, you know. So they you know, they castrate their dog, or they, you know, give it away, whatever. I didn't do that, but if a dog didn't fit my program, I might use it to compete with, but I wouldn't do it. Put it that way. And I followed the litters that had the higher percentage in them, you know. So, you know, just about every litter I bred, I got something out of it, whether it was one dog or two dogs or five dogs or all of them in the litter that worked out. I always got something. But the dogs that had the litters that had the tendency to only have one or two that were good, you know, I generally didn't follow those in practice. You know, they had to be 50% or better, half the litter or better, that'll work out. Then I'll follow those. And it showed me over time that that's the way I could do it. You know? And it wasn't just me, but other top breeders in horses and game fowl, and, you know, Iditarod racers and you know, greyhound racing, even pigeon racing and all that. Those are the one thing we all have in common if you want to be at the top level is you have those high standards. They do the same thing. A bird may have differences in it, they do. You know, if they're not consistent, you don't have high percentage litter, and you don't follow the birds or the dogs or whatever it is that exhibit the traits that you want. And if you make excuses for bad traits and keep them in there, it's going to knock your program down. You know, if you keep dogs there, let's say they're introverted and shy, just freaky toys. But like that Dawson, you know, you face them up and they do good and they look good and this and that. That's one thing. But when you breed them, they start passing on that freakiness and that shyness, that timidity and introversion. Them bad traits, man, they double up, they triple up, and all that. It's hard to get rid of the bad traits. So a dog like that, that's why I didn't keep Dawson in group. Even though he was a good performer, and he was a good fighter, and he won, he made champions. I would never have bred him. And I just send him back. Thank you, and send him back. We got Ninja, you know, champion Ninja. I saw Vinny used him for two of his three matches. Don Broke came out, and it was a big convention. Not a big convention, it was a convention that Steve Hendricks put on. And Ninja won on the card, and I liked him, you know. And so I'm talking to Don Broke, and Vinny took him back. He was going to do him again. So I'm talking to Don Broke. I said, man, Don, you can breed that dog. He was getting up in age. He was already 5 years old. He said, Richard, I can't breed him, man. He won't breed. I said, shit, that's right down my alley. All my dogs are like that. None of mine will breed, you know, just about. You know, big redwood and wood, most of them, they wouldn't breed. So I learned to do artificial insemination. So I said, man, I'll get him to breed, no problem, you know. He goes, go up to Vince and go get him, man. Breed him. I said, okay. So I went up, brought him back. He was on my yard for several months. We bred him to females. I bred him to Miss Rowdy and Country Boys Dusty. He was an inbred Omen bitch from Don Broke. And that was one of my best litters. Had a two-time winner in it. Had a cannibal named Bo, but he got poisoned in one of my best bitches. He was match worthy. She was a good bitch. She was only female in the litter, so I held it back. I didn't. Her first litter, she threw a champion, a two-time winner. There were only 4 pups, but all of them were winners. All of them were game dogs. I bred the bitches. They could produce all in that pattern. I percentage litter. And Ninja was a good dog. He was a serious dog. He wasn't the type where, you know, he liked to be petted. You could pet him and all that, but he didn't show that affection like most dogs. He was just a serious dog. You know? And so we bred him his first litter, that dusty litter, they got parvo. I had a little dog named Johnny Handsome out of that litter. My buddy had the rest of the litter. All of them got parvo, but Johnny Handsome, he didn't die from it. He was a little squirty, little skin bone. I didn't really like it. I left the hose out there. He got a hold of the hose. He couldn't even bust the hose up. He just couldn't really. So I asked Vince, "Hey Vince, you want this dog?" I said, "Yeah, I'll take it. He's off the knee. Get done, ninja." And he made champion out of that damn little dog.
Wow.
And champion Johnny Handsome, what is his name? So, but you know, it's just a lot of the things that, you know, I learned this too. You know. People will talk to other dog men, get as much information as they can, follow along as much as they can. But a lot of times they don't question it. They just take it as it is and run with it. And I always questioned it. Well, why do you do that? That's probably why I was on the phone with Laura, you know? Because I'd ask him, well, why do you do that? Why do you do this? If it didn't sit right with me, you know, I would try it, knowing kind of, man, this ain't gonna work. Which goes to, you know, people breeding curs and cold dogs. There's no doubt them dogs are so good dogs. But for me, it's compounding a problem that I don't want to deal with. If I could breed for dogs that don't fit, and I don't have cold dogs in my breeding, which I never did, and that blood that I eventually ended up giving to my friend, that stuff has never, in 37 years, never had a cold dog. So that's just another negative aspect that I could, you know, weed out of myself. And you try and not turn this out as much as you can. It's always going to be there. You're always going to have to hurt. From the gamest dog that's born. But in my mind, why am I going to compound it by keeping a cur dog, even if it can throw good dogs? Because I got these other dogs that didn't quit, and they can throw good dogs too, better dogs. So that was my way of thinking. You know, I was just that way anyway from a kid. I always questioned everything. Why this? Why that? Why? So, but it helped me in a lot of circumstances, you know. Whereas, you know, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to keep that. I'm not even going to breed that dog if I don't like him enough to breed it, even though it might have some good traits to it. These negative traits are so bad that it's not worth trying to fix. So I just weeded out. I got rid of a whole kind of line of dogs, you know. They were fast, they were hard biting, they were slick, smart, do it all, but they were thin boned. Some of them wouldn't scratch, they wouldn't even come off the gate. You put a dog on them, they fight all day long, you put them in the corner to scratch, they wouldn't scratch. So rather than trying to fix that, I just get rid of it. Probably got rid of 67 of them dogs. Just didn't want them. And people did good with them, you know. One of them, Charlie, they were older to OTK. He did a two-time winner in 37 years. But again, they weren't durable enough, you know. Jeb Stewart, I won with him. You know, he was a 50-pound dog, and I had him hooked up in the PVK Rust. At that time, he was considered probably the best condition on the West Coast. I had him hooked up. I put him through the teeth. About a week before the show, he called me up and said, "Rich, I got too small. He's not a 50-pound dog." I said, "No problem." So I waited about a week and I hooked him up again. So I put him through almost a whole teeth, waited a week, hooked him up again. And it was a dog that I had bred, but I never looked at it. I just took the guy's word for it. He raised him. He schooled him, you know, brought him to me. And there was another dog named Red, Lalo's Red, and he went into Pineapple Kid. He had a two-time winner in Sacramento, and I was at the show. And this Red, Lalo's Red, man, he got into Sacramento, Pineapple Kid, Sacramento. Got him in South, chewed the fuck out of him. Killed him in 12 minutes. He was a 53-pound dog. So, you know, and people were offering Lalo all kinds of money for that dog because he looked impressive. But I saw something in him I didn't like. He was that old Irizarry, Texas blood, if anybody's familiar with it. Mexican, old bully son, horrible. And there years and years. I'd seen that blood years before that, And I just, they tough dogs, in my mind, they don't stay. So I'm using a 50-pound dog into a 53-pound dog, something I never seen fight nothing but his bowl, feed bowl, People thought I was crazy. Ricky, why are you doing that? I don't care. I'm gonna whip him in. That was my attitude, And so we're getting ready to go to the show, and his owner shows up at my house 3 or 4 hours away. So we're getting ready to go, and I'm taking Jeb out, walking out before we leave. And his owner walks out the door, and this is the man who had raised him, fed him, food him, everything. He walked out to go pet his own dog, and the dog bit him. He was just so keyed up, And that's something too that happens sometimes. You have certain dogs, can't nobody mess with them when they're gone through their teeth and their teeth. Even their own owners sometimes can't help it. And that's what happened with this guy. We hit him in the stifle, man, opened him up, I got him off, and we taped the guy's leg off. We went to the show. We cut him loose, and my dog was just too smart and too fast. He got bit hard. He got his shoulder opened up. He got his stifle ripped up. But he stopped that red dog in about 53 minutes. And people were like, Ricky, how you do that? And I don't know, just, I just don't care, I guess. Sometimes I'm dumb, I'm just gonna go in there and do it. I don't give a fuck what the weight is or what, it don't sound right, and I'm not telling people they should do that, but it's just when you have that competitive spirit, if you think you can win, you're gonna do it, And I had the opportunity to see my opponent beforehand, and I think, man, if I can just stay with him, and I can put it on him with some speed, the dog ain't gonna stay. And that's I was right in that instance, It worked out that way. I've done that with other dogs too, and usually I come out ahead. Sometimes, I don't. But usually, if you was gonna beat me, it was gonna take you some time. You were gonna have to bring something real good, and just have a better dog that day. And I'm gonna shake your hand, and we're gonna do it again.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
You was talking to me about you were talking to us about how did you learn how to artificially inseminate?
There was a real green, quote unquote, dog man, and he had some dogs from Ronnie Hyde, and a couple of them dogs were that way too. So he took his dog to the veterinarian, because at that time you'd have to have a veterinarian do it. And it was a long-time veterinarian. He knew the guy. They were almost like friends. We'd been going through him for years. So the vet showed him how to do it. He showed me how to do it, and just started from there, And just about every dog, even if I had dogs that would breed, it was just easier for me to do it that way. You don't have to tape them up. You don't have to use a breeding stand. You don't have to hold them down. You don't have to sit there for 20 minutes or an hour. Just 10 minutes total, you're done, they're bred,
Wow.
I just use that, hey man, I can do this every time, Except for Big Red, I would let him breed, because he's an old man, I love that dog. I'd let him get his, And, but most of the other ones, I breed them. And, here's another thing too, people say, I don't breed my dogs until their career's done. And, I understand that. A lot of people think it fucks with their head and makes them act weird, I never had that problem because, my way of thinking, one don't have nothing to do with the other. If you got your dog ready to go, in condition, and he's peaked physically, but not only physically, mentally, they ain't thinking about sex. They ain't thinking about breeding. Mine didn't care if there was a bitch in heat, they'd hit them. And the bitches didn't care if they were in heat, they'd hit the male. Yeah, and a lot of it has to do, that's the way I raised them. And those are the type of dogs that I bred. Because their whole life, my dogs anyway, that's what they were geared for. I treated them all the same, did all the same. The ones that worked out, I went forward with them. The ones that didn't, I didn't look at it like, a waste of time or a loss or anything like that. You got to do that with all of them, and then weed through them, find out which ones worked out. So everything was geared towards that. Competition, fighting, finish. That's a very important trait to have. Me and Fox talk about that all the time too. If they didn't have finish, I wouldn't I wouldn't use it, you know. And I had a particular way of finding that out. It's too graphic. I won't talk about it, but people can figure it out, you know. It was just my way of doing things. You go up country, you see a lot of culling. You see a lot of butchering. You see a lot of different things. You know, you kind of look at animals different than maybe someone who wasn't raised that way, you know. Every animal has a purpose. Whether we had a German Shepherd to protect our house, or a companion for us, or we had cow dogs to work cattle, or we had whatever it was, they had to do something. Because my dad grew up very poor. They didn't have pets. They had dogs, but the dogs had to do something. They had to serve a purpose. So they were the working animals, or they were sporting animals. If you have cattle, if you have hogs, if you have turkey, ducks, chickens, they have to be there for a reason. They're not pets. So that's kind of the way I was raised. And it worked good when it comes to the dogs, because they had a purpose too. And that's not to say, you know, we didn't bring them in the house and we didn't love them. My kids raised a pup. My wife did a lot of that stuff, you know. And we treated them very well, and we got close to them, but not close enough to where maybe one day this dog ain't gonna make it. You just have to understand that and accept that, you know. That's just the nature of the game. It's a tough game, probably tougher on the dogs, but if you want to have good dogs, you have to do that, and you'll find out if you are hard on them like that, as you continue forward, you ain't gonna have to cull so many dogs. You're still gonna cull them, but not like you did in the beginning. As you're improving the quality, the gameness is there. It's gonna stay there if you keep it there. And now you just, you know, maybe I want a little bit more ability. I need more mouth, you know. I need some intelligence. You're looking for little factors like that. Keeping in mind that these dogs gotta be fast, strong, stay and hold, all that stuff I talked about before. You know, that's what makes the family of dogs. You breed the type of dogs you want, so it's all on you. If it's something you don't like or something not going to work, don't use it.
So where do you get your mindset from? You know, I mean, I notice your mindset is so much like mine. I mean, where it's like the competitiveness of the better. You know, you go after the competitive nature, your hunger. You know, I have that hunger. I think it was Pelican Bay. You know, we was talking, you know, he trains dogs just like I do.
Right.
And, you know, my mindset, I always thought my mindset was because I was a Marine. You know, Marines teach us to do certain things. So, you know, I thought I got that mindset from the Marine Corps. But I noticed even with my training of my Malinois and my German Shepherds, you know, I like dogs that have a heavy drive, that like to do. You know what I mean? It's like I'm the alpha dog, and my expectations of my troops are at a high level, and I always feel like at this level I can go into anybody and expect the best out of what I'm bringing. I noticed you had that mindset, but you really didn't speak on the mentors or anybody. What put you in that mindset?
I would say my upbringing, you know, my father. First, I want to say, you know, thank you for your service, brother. I have the utmost respect for anybody in the military. And I had an uncle who was a Marine, and you got to be double tough to be a Marine, for anybody that don't know. But I think it's you know, just that work ethic from my parents. You know, both of them worked. My grandma did a lot of our raising. I started working, you know, during the summer picking tomatoes when I was 8 years old. And you know, you don't make excuses. You get out there and work. My dad was lovable. He wasn't abusive. And he was a good father, a great father. He taught me a lot. But when it come to work, you work. That's it. I don't care if you ate. I don't care if you 80. If you're out there, you're gonna work. No messing around. And I think that work ethic, and then seeing animals, you know, we had horses, we had dogs, you know, seeing their work ethic, seeing what they go through, seeing the heart that they show, you know, it just sticks with you. Kids sometimes they don't realize how they're being influenced when they're little, and if you influence them positively, it's going to stick with them the rest of their life. And I make jokes all the time. I tell people, well, I'm lazy, my wife does everything with me, but you know, that which is, you know, that's true. I do my thing, she does her thing. She has her responsibilities, I have mine. When it comes to the dog, providing for my family, working, being a protector, that's my job. So when it came to the pit bulls, it was just that work ethic. That if you want to make it, if you want to survive, if you want to up your levels, your economically or whatever, you want a house, you got to work and buy it. You want a good dog, you got to breed good dogs, And I came to that realization probably from boils, that you're better off breeding and raising and feeding and schooling and handling and competing with your own dogs than someone else. And I had success with other people's dogs, but they weren't like mine. Generally, I couldn't work them hard like I did mine because they weren't raised out there. And we did stuff with our dogs when they was little, They knew how to do my keep before they ever went through a keep. My pre-keep, people talk about pre-keep. I really didn't have a pre-keep because their whole life was pre-keep. So by the time they get up there in age, I already know what weight they're going to be. They already know how to do my keep. It's just a smooth transition. Okay, buddy, now it's your turn. You get out there and do it. We lived, my yard was open, so dogs all around the house and then behind the house. So when I take an older dog out and work them, all the young ones could see. They could see what I was doing with them. Well, they want to do that too. They want that attention. They want that effect. So it was nothing. I just get them out there and do it. They would take to it like they were born to it, which they almost were. Even let's say you have young dogs. This is kind of funny, but you have young dogs that won't start. Well, I put them in a kennel, and I'd set up a chair where they could see over the wall, and let them watch the other dogs do their thing. Maybe they get it in their head that that's what they're supposed to do. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, but I never really had dogs that wouldn't start. All of them started because, as you're coming up, you go through that, dogs quit, dogs won't start, you gotta push them together, you see people rub their nose, do all that stuff. I hated that. How do I get dogs that don't do that? And a lot of it is just how you raise them, how you introduce them to certain things, when they're little. Most of my stuff started young, and that don't mean I started them young, even though sometimes you do, But I never had a doubt that they won't start when I figured out, okay, now he's ready, now this one's ready, now she's ready. I put them up, no hesitation, they go and do their thing. And it's just all that. But I think my competitiveness comes from, I did martial arts for a little bit. I trained about 4 or 5 years in martial arts. I did a little bit of boxing, but I couldn't be that serious with it because I can't see. You can't fight with glasses on, so I couldn't really get into it, even though I would still spar without glasses. It was kind of hard because I couldn't see a lot of times. When you get hit, you don't see nothing. That's when it hurts the most. So I couldn't do that, but I could do the dog. So a lot of it is just my upbringing, that's where it comes from. Just I always got that in the back of my mind. Get up there. You don't feel good today, you got to work. Get out there and do it. And I'm not saying do that with your dog, but it's just that, okay, we got to do our work. I didn't take time off. It was time to work a dog. I did it. It didn't matter how I felt. He's putting his life on the line for me. I got to put my work in too.
That's true.
I can't half step. I can't cheat them. Can't shortchange them. Feed them the best I can, condition them the best I can, and when they're ready, and believe me, when they're ready, they're ready. If you're off a little bit, that too. People don't admit it, but if you're right on time, if you're a little bit early, if you're a little bit late, or if you totally screwed it up. If you don't know it, you're fooling yourself, you're lying to yourself.
That's
and
true.
Mine was right on time and ready. It was going to be real hard to beat them, no matter who was on the other side,
Okay, I got another question.
Yes, sir.
Did you ever use steroids?
No, sir.
So all yours was natural?
All natural work, natural feed. I never used steroids. And there were people that offered to teach me, I just didn't want it. I just, I'm kind of that way, I'm not a health nut, but it's just, for my dogs, I didn't want any of the side effects that can come from it. And I'm not saying they don't help and they don't work, they do. If you know what you're doing, they're a benefit. I just didn't want to do it. But also, I tell people this too. Most of the people I went into, they use steroids, and most of the people I went into, I beat. And even some of the people that would tell me, hey, Richard, you got to try this stuff. Try the juice. I'll show you how to use it. And I would just politely, no, thank you. I don't need it. I don't want to try it. But in my mind, I'm going, man, why would I want to learn from you when you can't even beat me, If you use the steroids and I'm beating you, you can't beat me, then why would I, why take your advice,
Right.
It's kind of chicken shit, but again, that's not to say they don't work. It just, you better know what you're doing. And they can be a great tool, they can help. I just didn't, for me, it wasn't my way.
You gotta have the right dog. Steroids don't make the dog.
That's true, they don't. It don't make them game, and I'll say this, like, I have a couple of friends, they would say, Richard, I don't really use him, but if I got a dog, he's not really a hard worker, he's not really, into it that way. I'll use a little bit of juice, and it helps them in their work ethic. It helps them in their, like that. And then I know other people, hot people, they use them religiously without too many side effects, if any, But I have seen when they use wrong, man, bad side effects. I've seen dogs die for no reason. I've seen dogs die young from liver, kidney, heart failure. I've seen dogs, it fucked with their mind. It made them. They're just off, man. There's something wrong with them. They'll go into a depression afterwards. I seen one bitch, a champion bitch. She was a good bitch. She didn't get hurt. She was a knockout artist. Her third one, she went through this bitch, and she just 2-3 days later, she just died. I don't know if it's true or not, but in my mind, she just went into a bad depression and never come out of it, passed away. I'm not a scientist, I don't know, but I have seen when people don't use them the right way, it can have some bad negative effects on the dogs, including sterilization and stuff like that. But if you know what you're doing, you're good. That's Everybody true. Use them. I don't see it as cheating or anything like that. It's, use whatever. And I tell people, I don't care, use them. It don't matter to me. Still, you're, it's you against me. Your knowledge against my knowledge. Your keep against my keep, and especially your dog against my dog. I just think I got the better dog.
But that's what it boils down to. I think it's all boils down to the dogs. Whether you use steroids or not, I think a lot of it has to do with the dogs. You got to first have a good dog. Exactly. I think it starts there. You can put steroids in a bum, and that's not going to make him a superhero.
Nope, it's not. You can improve a little bit on it, in the keep. You can, maybe health-wise or something. But it's not gonna change the dog too much. I don't know what the percentage is of improvement when you put a dog through a keep, but all you're doing is enhancing what they already have.
Right.
You might up their game 10, 25%, but it ain't gonna make them 100% better dog. It ain't gonna even make them a 50% better dog. I think it's physically impossible to do that.
Sure.
You're just taking what the dog has and you're enhancing it. And if you do it right, 99.9 or whatever it is, you're gonna come out okay. You're gonna be on the winning side.
Well, that's true. I've done them both. And I just think it's like you were saying before about the conditioning part of it. I'm gonna tell you why I used them. I like breeding killers.
Right.
And when I see a dog that's got a lot of mouth, a lot of ability, then like you said, I believed in pace. I believe in pace. And if I can enhance my pace, that means I'm enhancing my ability. I'm enhancing this pace of the match. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And that's what I was gaming on. I have a stronger dog because I was able to enhance the strength. I have a faster pace because I'm able to work my dog harder and recover faster. I don't think I was ever thinking about breeding my dogs and the after effects. I think it was more of a, I was in the moment. When it came down to matching dogs, I was matching dogs. And,
right.
And you're right, it did have ill effects. Now, I did get some breedings out of my dogs. I did, I didn't really have the ill effects. as bad as they were, because I didn't have my dogs out there staring at everybody either.
Right.
And they probably wouldn't have been able to stare at everybody, you know?
Right.
I can just speak on the ones that, you know, I got litters out of those great dogs, you know. Didn't get a lot of litters, but I wasn't looking for a lot of litters. You know, I would move on real quick to another dog because I was into actually matching dogs, you know?
Right. And that's you know, a lot of people, that's their mindset. That's what they did. There's a lot of top names, some of the ones I mentioned, you know. Some of them did breed dogs. They considered themselves breeders, and they had a family of dogs. But a lot of them didn't. They just liked to compete. So they would get dogs here and there and use them. They might breed once in a great while, one litter if they liked the dogs, you know. But they just into the competitive aspect of it. And that's just, you know, that's part of the game too. Some people are known from conditioning, so they conditioning their own dogs, they conditioning dogs for other people, you know. They did that a lot too, you know. And I tried to do, you know, everything I can do to do with the dogs. You know? Some things I didn't do. I didn't travel great distances like some people do, you know, 3,000-4,000 miles or 1,500 miles like that. I wasn't great with aftercare. You know? I could hit a vein. I knew which meds to use, you know, if the vein wasn't to last. But there's a lot more to it than that. You know? So what I would do is I hired people to go to my shows, you know, or come to my shows and just pay them to do the work. They saved several of my dogs for me, you know. And, you know, there are advantages to using steroids. That's no doubt. So early on, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, how do I offset that? What do I do if I'm not going to use them? I can't just take a dog and even if I put them through a great feed, you know, and you know, that's not enough. So my thing was, when they're early ages, you know, puppies, they gotta be healthy, they gotta be active, their body has to be taxed in some way, you know, stress. They have to be regularly exercised. You have to do all this stuff. They can't be obese and overweight all the time. I never had my dogs, even old retired dogs, I never had them way heavy like I see even online now and, you know, in my groups and all that. I feel bad for the dogs. Like, why do you have them so heavy? What is the purpose? It's not healthy for them. You go to the gym every day, you work out every day, and your dog's 15 pounds overweight. I mean, that's a pit bull. And you wonder why they die when they're 10, 11 years old.
Right.
Mine, you know, Big Red lived till he was 15, you know. That picture, that famous picture that goes around, you know, that everybody sees, he's 13 years old there. He don't have no gray hair. And a lot of that, you know, a lot of my dogs are that way. And a lot of that has to do with their constitution and their durability and their health, you know. That plays a big factor in it. So that was my way, in my mind, of offsetting whatever advantages other people would have. How I raised them, what I did with them, keep them active, expose them to whatever I could expose them to. They call it socializing now. We took our dogs to Disneyland, we took them fishing, we took them up in the mountains, you know. I'd play loud music and have the kids run around. I'd have my kids in there fucking with them when we were schooling them, you know, pulling on their tails and pushing them around and pull their ears, because I wanted them to learn to stay focused on what they're doing regardless of what's going on.
It's true.
You know, I've seen experienced dogs, either they flew out or already winners or champions, go to a big show, the bright lights freak them out. The crowd, the noises. And these dogs, some of these dogs won't even start. Some turn around, they want to jump out because they haven't been exposed to that. They haven't, and then you have handlers that scream and holler and do all that. They wave their hat, take their shirt off and do all that. My dogs didn't care about none of that because they were exposed to all that. None of that bothered them. They learned that they got to pay attention to what's in front of them, not anything that's going on around them. That didn't matter. You could shoot guns around my dogs. You could light off 4th of July fireworks. They didn't run in their house. It just meant nothing to them because they were so used to it. It just, you know, natural. That was natural. If I had them inside, messing with them on a mill or something like that, which eventually I didn't use none of the equipment. I just used a bike, strength work. But early on, if I was doing that, I'd just crank up the music as loud as I could, screaming, hollering. They might react a little bit, but they get used to it. They all kinds of music, go around the house shooting dogs. We was always shooting guns anyway, So they get used to it. But it helped them that no matter where I went, they were good because they were used to riding around in the car. No car sickness, no nothing. Strangers around, crowds, lights, different altitudes, different areas, down in a basement or out in the woods. It didn't matter to them, man. They knew what they were there for, and they were ready for it. Once they saw that box, they'd go off, man. It didn't matter. They didn't even have to be a dog in here. They'd start screaming and hollering, and they just want to go. Most of them, not all of them, most of them were like that. So all that is my way of combating any advantage that someone else might have.
Okay, I got another. Here's one. I've been noticing a lot of these new guys out here. They're trying to, post their pictures of their dogs, and I'm noticing that they're real skinny. It's like they're cutting into their muscle. Can you explain to these guys out here that nutrition has everything to do? You can be doing a good workout on your dog, but I think I had one get a little upset with me and sold me his dog, and I told him his dog was too skinny. And I don't know, he just seems like, he showed me the dog food, but that's all he showed me. He just showed me a bag of dog food.
Right.
It takes more than a bag of dog food to put a dog in shape. Can you enlighten these young guys, not just they're in age, but new to the game? It takes more than just out there working your dog. You can do more damage working your dog if you're not putting the right nutrition in them, and it shows.
True. That's true. First, I'll say this, people with criticism, it's hard for people to take it. They don't like hearing it. They get offended. They get embarrassed, And early on, I was the same way. But I learned this from my old guy, too. If it's constructive criticism or even it's hate, you may not like it, but you should listen to it. Because they may be telling something that might help you. Even though you want to knock their head off or you want to get in an argument, you want to start hollering, listen to what they're saying. If it's true, then maybe it might help you. If it ain't, then just ignore it. So what? Who gives a shit what anybody says?
Right.
But when it comes to nutrition and health and working dogs, and I've seen this in a lot of confirmation shows, they bring in their dogs in thin, light. They ain't working their dogs down to that. They're starving. And some of them, if they are working them, they're working them too much. And they don't have the nutrition to back it up. And the way generally I can tell is they'll start walking the dog out. He looks weak on his feet, and he starts breathing heavy right away. Mm-hmm. That dog didn't have enough rest, They already played out, and you ain't doing shit but walking them out to go take a piss, And the ones that are in good shape, their coat shines, their muscles are there, the way they walk, their focus is all there. And it could be warm that day, they still walking around with their mouth closed. They're good, man. They're in good shape.
That's right.
Just, if you don't understand nutrition, then get with somebody who does. Look at stuff online. But when you're working a dog, that food has to match that work, or the work has to match that food. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
You can, and a lot of people, I see this too. They get down, and when you're going through a keep, the last week is the hardest part. That's what because you're worried about the weight.
That's true.
You're worried about the weight. Worried about the weight. And these people are cutting back on this, and they're taking food away. You should never take food away from a dog. As you increase that work, you may have to increase their feed. You may be giving them more than what you think you should, but they need it because you're putting that workload on it, And when you're working a dog, I tell people this because they ask me all the time, about conditions, this and that. When you start working your dog in the beginning, they're gonna hit a pace, and then they're gonna hit that that first what do you call it? They're gonna blow out, they're gonna run hot or whatever. right? That's going to take a certain amount of time, right? Then they're going to recover from that, and that's going to take a certain amount of time. At the end of the keep, same thing, right? They're going to hit that pace, they're going to hit that first wind, and then the second wind like that. When you get to the end of the keep, when they break their wind, that time should be shorter than when you started.
Mm-hmm.
That recovery time should be shorter. I mean, when you hit that first, they blow out, that should take longer for them to do that than they did at the beginning of the keep.
That's right.
They should be able to go longer before they blow out. But their recovery time, that should be shorter than when you started the keep. It may take them 5 minutes to recover in the beginning of the keep, whereas toward the end of the keep, 7, 8 weeks, whatever it is, it should take maybe 30 seconds or a minute. And
That's
they should
true.
have that recoup and come back. And if it takes them 15 minutes to blow hot, at the end of the keep, it should take them 30 minutes.
That's right.
Generally, it could be 20, 30, but whatever it is, it should be a longer time before they run hot, you know? That's how I could tell where I was in my condition, how good my dog was. And some have better natural air than others. Most dogs have decent air. Most dogs have good air. We're just enhancing it. Some dogs don't. Can't do nothing about it. You may help them a little bit, but it's not going to be significant. But most pit bulls, just by the nature of the breed, their competition and the way, you know, where they come from, they have decent air. They have pretty good strength, you know, if someone's been breeding them properly. If not, you're going to lose all that. But the nutrition, I would say that's the first thing from when they're born. You know?
Hold on, Mr. Garcia. I got a shout out to my man. 7-8 Sports is in the house. And thank you for showing up, big bro. Shout out to 7-8 in the house.
Yes, sir. Good people, man.
Good people. Glad to see you here. Honored, privileged. You know me. I get tickled when I'm around all this famous stuff, you know?
Yes, sir. we starting to feel the same way about you, brother.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm glad you touched on that because, I mean, it really helps the people in my room to hear from somebody like you because they hear me, okay? And they probably take that advice, but it sounds so much different when I sit back and hear you saying what I be trying to explain to them, and to have you in this room with me sitting here is like, here's my receipt. I have schoolboy telling you things that I've told you guys, you know, and to me, I think it is sinking a lot better to a lot of these guys that's been coming to these shows. You know, and you know, I have so many of them saying, Twin works his dogs too hard. Twin, he keeps sounding crazy. Or he pushes his dogs too hard. You know, but to hear you talking about it and the way you explain it, you know, it just really, I know there's a lot of guys out there who's listening, and I hope they're really sucking it in and understanding that Twin wasn't talking out the top of his head. Twin really did know what he was talking about because, look, you have schoolboy in here saying the exact same thing. And the advantages and the things that he takes advantage of, this is why he was winning. So it's not like no fluke that I was winning, okay? He's telling you the same thing that I'm telling you, and the thing about it is because of guys like him. Guys like him explaining to me just like he's explaining to y'all. And you know, I'm just fortunate and so privileged right now and honored that I'm in awe, guys. I don't know how y'all feeling, but I am in total awe land right now. I mean, I hate to interrupt him, but I'm just in total awe because the information he's giving you guys, if you're paying attention and listening, this thing is, you guys are, he's putting out a wealth of information. And I hope you guys are paying attention. I hope y'all bought your pencils and pens. I am the first to sit there and say, I am his biggest fan and a big ass receipt. Okay? He don't need no bigger receipt in this room than me. And I agree with everything he's saying. Everything. There's some things that he's saying that I'm picking up and I'm learning myself. that I see, you know? So guys, take advantage of that. Take advantage of this day here. Please, take advantage of this day here. Okay, we just might want to check the mic, make sure, because when I get to talking, you know, it start doing weird stuff. So I'm gonna turn this back over to Mr. Garcia with another upgrade. And this is what I want to talk about now, Mr. Garcia. I want to talk about Big Red. How did you acquire? What's the story?
Okay, Steve Dunleavy, he was another one. You know, he matched some dogs, but he was more into the breeding side of it. You know, and he'd you know, like everybody else, you get this, that, all this stuff. You know, and when Jeep was being campaigned, you know, he followed him just like I followed him. He did too. And here's something that pertains to breeding. You know.
Hold on, Mr. Garcia, before we move forward, 'cause I don't want nobody to miss this. He's picking up a lot. He's picking up static, and he want to make sure that we get this real clear. Okay, that's good. Okay, thank you, Mr. Garcia. Go ahead.
Okay, so here's some tips about breeding. You know, Jeep, for example, came from a good litter. His parents were champions, and they were good producers too. Same with the grandparents. So if you stick to that model, you're going to have more consistency. You know, you're using dogs, you're breeding dogs that come from a high percentage of litter. That particular dog has to be a good athlete, a game dog, all these traits, standards, whatever you have. You know, even be a good mother. You know, that's one thing I like about my females too. If they weren't good mothers, I wouldn't use them. You know, but because of that, you know, he got interested in the deep dog and the Red Boy stuff. Same thing. You know, you know, Red Boy was a great producer, a lot of stuff, and you could inbreed that stuff heavily and still have game dogs, put it that way. You know, so he acquired all these dogs, and he was a construction worker, and we used to spend a lot of time talking. He gave me tips on breeding, and he gave me, you know, avenues to follow, books and breeders in other avenues, you know, genres like game fowl and thoroughbred horse racing, and you know, Garcia was a world-renowned Italian horse breeder, you know. So that's where a lot of my stuff comes from him and all these other guys. That you know, that's kind of where my standards, plus my own way of, you know, what kind of dogs do I want. So he acquired all these dogs. He got Red Boy dogs, got Jeep dogs, you know, and we went through them. The good ones he kept, the other ones he didn't. But there came a time, and he had his dogs at his father's house. His father died of a massive heart attack, kind of unexpectedly, you know, rest in peace, Deuce. And he couldn't keep his dogs, so he gave them all away, you know, to friends, you know,
wow.
You know, that were other dog men, right? So he gave me Sissy, who was an inbred daughter of Jeep, bred to Rowdy, who was brother-sister bred off of Jeep and Grand Champion Miss Race. He gave me Big Red's brother, Redman, who died of coronavirus. Really, he was the pick of the litter. He was going to be a good dog, man, I guarantee it, but he died. He gave me Big Red's sister, Miss Rowdy, and I won with her too. He produced some good dogs. And he gave the Irish kid, he gave him Bucky, who was brother, sister off of Jeep and Kate, and he gave him Big Red. Well, I liked the Jeep Red Boy stuff more than Irish Kid did. He liked the Jeep Boleo and the Jeep Boomerang stuff. So Irish Kid actually gave me Big Red when he was a pup. Maybe because I lost Red Man, you know, that was Big Red's brother. But he gave him to me, but that's how we got it. And man, at that time, you know, we were hard on our dogs. When I tell you hard on them, you know, we started schooling them young. We put a lot of time on them, a lot of rolls on them, you know, all of them. I'm talking throughout their life, 20, 30, whatever, you know. rolled, you know. By the time, I used to keep records of everything. By the time I sold Big Red, when he was almost 10 years old, I sold him to Raging Bull Kennels because I had to get rid of all my dogs. He had over 9 hours pit time on him, including matches and rolls. You know, even as an old dog, I used him to school young dog because he was bigger, older, so he couldn't hurt him too much. His teeth were broken, you know, but he was rough and smart. And he was peaky. If there was anything in you that was no good, he would bring it out right away. And same thing with his sister, Miss Rod. They just had a lot of experience. So there was no playing around with them, though. But that's how I acquired them, you know. And he proved to be a good kid. He produced a lot more, honestly, because I'm like you, I didn't breed a lot of dogs. I bred what I needed. You know, I might breed a litter every year or every 2 years. I never had more than 10 or 12 grown dogs on my yard. And if I had pups, I might have 20 dogs total, you know. It just, I felt, you know, I could put more time into them, pay more attention to them, get more out of them if I could give them all as much attention, you know, as much time as I could. You can't do that with 60 dogs or 100 dogs. It's all day job. I mean, if you put 15 minutes a day on your dog, on each dog, you know, feeding, picking up, cleaning up, you know, watering them, just 15 minutes a day. If you got 4 dogs, that's an hour. If you got 8 dogs, that's 2 hours. You see what I'm saying? So if you got 20 or 30 dogs, grown dogs, you know, you're talking several hours a day. So when people tell me that have 50 or 60 dogs or 100 dogs, I spend a lot of time with my dogs. No, you don't. You can't. It's physically impossible. There ain't enough time in a day if you work a job, if you have responsibilities, if you have to sleep. You're going to give them, you know, as much time as you can, but it ain't that much.
That's
so
true.
And I got that from Boyles, actually, because that was, he told me the same thing. I don't keep a lot of 10 or 12, 15 grown dogs. That's good. They put more time in. And I had family, I had kids, they helped, my wife, all that. So that was my reason for doing it, you know. And I was always busy. If I had 10 or 12 grown dogs, I had 3 or 4 match dogs all the time, you know, continuously, all the time. So that kept me busy. And if you're using an 8-week keep, you know, that's, you know, 2 months on one dog, then you stop that, you go to the next one, do that one, you know. You can do, you know, 3 or 4 dogs a year. Some people do a lot more. You know, LA Dream Team, they probably did 10 or 15 dogs a year. That's dogs, that's not matches. So they might have had 20 or 30 matches a year.
Wow.
I've done 4 at a time. It beat the hell out of me. 4 dogs, you know, conditioning, overlapping like that. I did 2 dogs on one night. I did 1 dog the next weekend, skipped the weekend, and then the last weekend of the month, I did another. A lot of work, but you can do it, you know, but you're continuously busy that way. You know, I did 9 dogs in one season. I did 8 dogs in one season. Not 8 dogs, but 8 matches. You know, that's a lot, man. You know, when you honestly think about it, and you don't have no help, you don't have a team, you don't have, you know, a group, a combine, a kennel, you know. A lot of these guys, you see them, and it's no disrespect, but you see them, they have this champion, that champion, this champion. That's true, all the respect them. But they didn't match them every single match. They might have done 1 or 2, their buddy done 1 or 2, or they might have got them as a 2-time winner or a 3-time winner and went on to make them grand champion. That's just the way it is. That's the nature of the game. That's how it's done. That's why you see high dollar dogs sold or great dogs sold, you know. Somebody else wants them, they give them money. But to do every dog, every time, that's rare. But all my dogs, you know, even mine, you know, I had a partner, he did some of mine. Most of mine, you know, we did them, every one of them, you know, at least 1, 2, sometimes all 3 times. You know? And there were some dogs, you know, my wife, you ain't gonna do that dog, that's our dog. You know? We're gonna match. Yeah, Bill, Mr. Rowdy, or not Mr. Rowdy, Clayton Blood, you know. Howler, you know, several of the dogs, you know, she just would not, she didn't want somebody else, she didn't trust her. And I think that's because, you know, we trusted someone with Big Red, that's when he lost. He just wasn't right. You know, he just.
You talking about
I did him
that
at
that
50.
loss to Pop?
Yeah.
Did
I
Wonder
did him
Boys did Wonder Boys have him at the time, or did Last buy him at that time? 187.
Who's that? Big Red?
Yeah. I mean Pop. Who had him? Did Wonder Boys have him at that time, or did Last have?
Who had that? Was I think it was Michelle or man, I forget his kennel name back then. It might say it on that thing, but some of that info ain't correct on there. I did him at 54 into Scratch and Stick,
Okay.
and he was using a dog named Midnight Train. He was the son of Jack Carver's Night Train, Eli Jr. dog. And Big Red come out, man, balls to the wall. He hit him first hit right in the shoulder like he always did. That's where he liked to go. First hit, boom, right in the shoulder, and opened him up. And Midnight Train latched onto his head. He punched a hole in Big Red's head. Now I thought he hit his brain, you know, but it didn't. He didn't give a shit. Anyways, he finished him in 34 minutes, right? And a couple of years later, my buddy wanted to do him. He had been there at the match. My partner, you know, he wanted to do him, but he wanted to do him at 52. I said, man, I don't fucking bite. He's older, this and that. No, I'm gonna do him. And this part is my fault because I allowed him to do it, you know. He did him at 52. Pup came in at 2.5 pounds over. And Big Red was 1 pound under. He was at 51. And my wife had said before that, man, he looked dehydrated. And he did. And I still allowed it because, you know, this is another thing, and I hear this from friends, you know, when you have help, when you have people helping you, you have to allow them to make mistakes or they ain't gonna learn. Now some people will say, fuck that, you know, that's my dog, I ain't gonna do that. I understand it. But it's gonna happen. And that's where you're gonna see if you're really friends or not. Are you gonna, is this friendship gonna end over a dog, or is it gonna end because he ain't a good friend, you know? And my partner, he was just young, confident, competitive, same thing. We could have forfeited, he could put the forfeit and went home and stopped it. But like I said, we're there to do the job. So we did it. He was losing most of the way, but Pup, he would turn and do, you know, it gives you a false sense of security. Maybe he'll quit, maybe he wasn't going to quit. Big Red was down, mostly down the last half hour of the match. So we picked him up and went to courtesy scratching. And he didn't, this is something I felt people do, you know, advise me to. You have 30 seconds in that corner, you know, 25, and then you got 5 seconds. During that 5 seconds, you got to place your dog so he's ready to scratch. Some people just hold them, they stand there, their feet are turned, the dog's turned away, they not faced up straight. You know, it's kind of hectic and kind of, you know, pressure's on and all that. And my buddy, he didn't face him upright. He didn't have him. So when he cut him loose, the referee to his right in the corner, hunched down, you know, squatting down. So in my mind, you know, Big Red, he was in shock. I think he thought that was the dog. So when he cut him loose, he scratched to the ref. And when he got there, he's like, oh shit, he knows it was the ref. He looked around, he saw Pup, and then he scratched the Pup. And that's where you get that L-shaped thing, because regardless, I'm brutally honest. You know, I'm gonna tell you what happened. I'm not gonna lie, because it's gonna go down like you say, routine. It's gonna be there. Somebody's gonna know it. Somebody's gonna see it. Somebody's gonna write about it. You know? So when I sold him the Raging Bull, I told him that this is what happened. And I told him, look, he's almost 10 years old, but when you get him rolling, man, he ain't gonna hurt him. He's got a lot of experience. It don't matter. He'll get in. You could put him in a pit with no dog, he starts screaming. Because he had so much experience in there, it didn't matter if there was a dog there, he's waiting for the dog. So he was game. They barely saved him afterwards. He was just real game. And other people, you know, they wrote an article, some negative, but some of the people that were there, they wrote and said that's one of the gamest dogs I ever seen. And the other thing is, regardless of what dog it is, if it quit in my hands or it's my dog, and I have control over it, I'm not keeping it. It wouldn't have mattered if it was Big Red. It wouldn't have mattered if it was Champion Ninja, Champion Dawson, Champion Knucklehead, Champion...
Hold on 1 second. Hold on, Mr. Garcia, just 1 second here. I think I'm going to sound difficult. It's nothing. Mic check one. Okay, thank you, Mr. Garcia. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, what I was saying is, you know, at that time, and even if I had dogs now, in a perfect world, we could do what we did. If a dog quit, I wasn't going to keep it. It wouldn't have mattered if it was Big Red. It wouldn't have mattered if it was Champion Bill. It wouldn't matter if it was Mr. Rowdy or Lucy or Champion K or Johnny Hanson or nothing. Anyone. If it was my dog and it was my responsibility and I bred it, I wasn't going to keep it. Because there's been a couple of times where dogs, you know, they look like they're going to quit. You know, I borrowed dogs from someone else. They look like they're going to quit. They asked me to pick them up because they want to keep them. I would do that. It's their dog. I'm going to do it. I'm not that hard after, fuck you, you know, he's a this. And it was usually over 2 hours. That happened with Boomer. You know, I don't know if he would have kept on scratching because he was going downhill. And he was Robin's dog. Ronnie Anderson was there. And he said, Ricky, pick him up. He gave me the signal, pick him up. Okay. I'm gonna do it. He wanted to save him. He wanted to take him home. And I told Robin, he ain't doing good. He needs to be worked on. He needs to be stabilized and warm. We need to stay here. He said, man, I want to get home. We got to get him home. Now, I don't do that. He talked me into it. Against my, you know, better judgment, he said, let's go home. So we went home. Well, he died that night. And I felt that if we had stayed there, let him stabilize, got his body temperature up, he might have survived. He had good doctors on him. But that's a lot of it too. Is when dogs are in shock, or they're played out, hurt bad, or overtaxed, overheated, you've got to stabilize their temperature, and you've got to keep them from moving a lot. Don't move them around, because that could affect them internally. If you don't get their temperature right, if they're overheated, you got to bring it down. If they're running cold, you got to warm them up. Whether it means putting blankets on them, laying with them, putting your heater on in your car and just let it blow, heating it up to 100 degrees, you got to get the temperature. That kills a lot of dogs more than sometimes the punishment does, you know. Stabilize them, get the temperature right.
Well, I got a question from Frank Rizzo. Frank Rizzo says, did you ever get any pups off of Ruben when he was on your yard?
Off of Ruben?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no, I never bred him. In fact, I almost killed him because, again, I was young, and I had the doghouse and the chain right next to the fence, and he was on the. And Ruben was a good dog. He was a good worker, man. He was one of those naturals where you put him on a mill, he just run it. He had experience, he knew how to do it, you know. He just like almost like a robot. Get on there and start working, you know. And I had him there, and I had him in that spot. And I went inside, and I don't know what it was, but you know, normally I don't go inside and then come back. You know, I'll wait an hour, come pick on the dog. Something told me go outside. So I did, and when I did, he was hung over the fence, choking to death, you know. And I just pulled him over, you know, he made, you know, he's choking and all that, but he did. But if I hadn't have done that, there would be no Ruben ROM, you know. He just, you know, I immediately moved that, stopped that. And that's a lesson. Sometimes those lessons don't turn out that way. You learn the hard way, and you lose good dogs, you know. And it's just something that everybody goes through. You almost have to go through it to learn. So when a mentor or maybe an older guy or someone with more experience gives you some advice, even if, again, going back to that, even if you don't like it or agree with it, listen to it, it might help you. If they tell you do that, don't do that because this might happen, it's probably because they did it and it happened. So they're giving you advice, even if they're hard on you or call you names or whatever. Bite your fucking lip and listen. If they're a piece of shit and it don't make no sense, don't do it. But at least take it into consideration. They might be giving you some good advice. A lot of them guys were old, crotchety, hard asses, man, you know, and they just that way, you know. So, you know, Bill Petrie was that way. It took a while for me to get, you know, and we say close to him or get where he talk, give you information, because they wouldn't tell you shit, not how their dogs were bred, not no information. If they did give you information, a lot of times it was wrong. And I they used to tell me that back in the day. We ain't telling you shit, Ricky, because you know what? You're serious about this. And you're going to be our competition. You ain't gonna help you, At least they were honest that way. I didn't like it. It pissed me off at the time, but I learned to understand why they were doing that. That's just competitive nature. But also, they were right, because I come back done for them. Once I learned what I was doing, I every guy I lost to except for 2, I come back and beat them. And some of them guys, they just couldn't beat them.
Okay, I got a question from Big Steppin'. He said, what was the best dog off of Big Red?
Wow.
You think, your opinion.
Yeah. Man, that's hard to say. The best dog I got off would be, there's 3 of them. Alex, Mr. Rowdy, and Champion Jill. And they all had little differences about them. Well, Alex was a animal. And he was a late starter. He wouldn't start. The only reason I kept him is I kept rolling him. He would scratch, but he wouldn't hardly take hold. And he was my dad's dog. My dad taught him to ride in the back of the truck, loose. He was obedience trained, a house trained. Just a lovable dog, but he was slow to start, and he just would not mature. So the last time I rolled him, and I told him, I said, look, he was 3 years old. I said, Al, this is your last chance, buddy. You don't do something this time, man, I can't keep you, And people talk about doing that. I really did it, and some people do that. I think Boone touched on it when we were talking about Bronco, But I told him that when I cut him loose, man, he turned on. And it was a big old bruiser, this kid in town. We used to roll dogs back, and I always got better. He just loved the dogs. He'd buy dogs out of the town. And we bought this big old, I don't know, he's probably 10 pounds bigger than Alex. Alex went for that dog, man, and he ate from his shoulder down to his elbow, to his bone. In 18 minutes, he killed the dog. And I took him back. The dog was laid out, and I scratched him 3 times with the laid out dog. Didn't make sure that's that finish. They should hit it no matter what, in my mind. Some won't do it, some don't do it, but I like the ones that were like that. So he was one of the dogs I had to get rid of when I got rid of my dogs, and I sold him to TVK Russ. He went into Cottingham's, beat him in 1 hour 20. Bill, he won. He was off of another inbred daughter of Jeep that belonged to PB named Blondie. And sired by he got a Big Red, off of Big Red. He beat Robin in 1 hour 31, his first time, and he beat LA Dream Team champion Jesse James in 48 minutes. And then he beat Mr. C in 30 seconds. And then Mr. Rowdy, he's probably my favorite dog, because my wife bottle fed him, hand raised him. He was just a wild, crazy. Bill was the same way. They just intense, insane dogs, lovable dogs around people. None of my dogs were human aggressive. They were good with kids. They were better with kids than adults. They wouldn't jump all over the kids, knock them down, and practice like that. Even though they would do that with some of the adults, but he won in 1 hour 28. Beat Chainsaw. I beat Vince. He was using Best in Show winner Rhino. Beat him in 46 minutes. Mr. Rowdy would busted his legs up, pulled his teeth out. And then he lost to Champion Clark in 2 hours and 31 minutes. I did him at 37 and 37 and a half, and I went into Clark at 39. One of them when I come up and weight, I shouldn't. He was just a great dog. He survived. He got both legs broken. Got his jaw messed up. Of the dogs I had, those were my favorites, I would say.
Okay.
By my count, Big Red produced 13 champions, 3 grand champions, and 2 daughters from ROM.
Okay. Mr. Ernest Frederick asked, do you still, or have you still talked to any of the guys from Raging Bull Kennels?
No, Bill got out of it a long time ago, because of the nature of the game, And I kept in contact with him for several years, but Richard, I just can't do it no more, you know. Too many people getting busted. You know, got rid of all the dogs he had. He was good people. He made some real good breeding. A lot of other people bred to him. He threw good dogs to them, you know. He made ROM one litter, another litter. He had a few litters had more than 2 or 3 champions in it. You know? One of his daughters, Grand Champion Schoolgirl, I think she made Dog of the Year for Sporting Dog Journal one time. You know, TJ Fisher used a couple of his sons, Champion Stoley, and get the other one. Just a lot of people had it. Victor Cruz, you know, I sent dogs to Baja, California, throughout California, Texas, Louisiana, Delaware, New York, Guam, Korea. You know, and like I said, I didn't have a lot of dogs, but people liked them. They used them. Singapore, you know, I sent Bambi to Singapore. She made 2-time winner over there. So Kate and Joey, she made champion with him. Just good, solid dogs. People will come to my yard and they say, "Man, Richard, all your dogs look the same." You know, whether they related heavily or even crossed, they all resemble each other because, you know, I followed certain traits and certain builds and look and attitude and temperament, you know. When you do that, you're going to get some commonality, even if the dogs aren't heavily related, because that's the choices you're making. That's what you like. I like hard muscle, good bone structure, you know, roach back, you know, good teeth, you know, solid head, solid muzzle. I don't like spindly, you know. There's some dogs that thinner side, like the Boleo dogs, you know. They can be like that, you know. They're fast, smart, game, and intense screamers, you know. I just like mine a little more thick.
So what would you call your most consistent line that you've seen?
From my dogs or just anybody?
Well, just your dogs, or just the lines out there. What would you consider a line that was consistent to you?
Well, in my time, you know, the Jeep Red Boy Rascal, you know, the yellow stuff, you know, Yellow John, the Red Boy Jocko, you know, the you know, Group Alligator, Bully Sun stuff, you know, most of the Bully Sun crosses, the Bully Sun Long Tuffy, Bully Sun Long's Baby, you know, Stomper, Tough, Blue, you know. Blue was the sire. His name's Blue or Buck. Both same dog. He produced Grand Champion Joker and Grand Champion Cherokee Chief. That's the dog Boyle's bred to. That's from the Bully Sun Long Tuffy stuff. And then the Bully Sun Long's Baby stuff, you know, the Midnight Cowboy Shivo stuff. You know, those were consistent. The Boleo stuff, you know, different crosses, you know. The Boleo, you know, it's kind of like some bloodlines, you know, they work good with a lot of different stuff, and I think that's what made Big Red, helped him make what he was as a producer. You could breed him to about anything, you're gonna get something, you know. He was bred to all different kind of bloodlines, all different kind of bitches, different sizes, different records, you know, and he proved pretty consistent, you know. And with a lot of this stuff, you know, the Eli Carver stuff, you know, whether it's, you know, Chinaman Little Gator, you know, or the LG stuff, you know, or Coy's Banjo, or, you know, McCool and all that, you're looking for consistency, you know. So in today's world, the names have changed. They may be breeding, you know, different dogs, but if you go back and if you look, if you understand the pedigree, if you understand the bloodline, you're going to see a consistency in going way back, which is English and Irish dogs. More current, you're going to see Diabo Colby, you know, like that. Diabo Colby Lightner, you know, that's almost all bloodlines have some of that consistency in it, you know. Whether you're talking Zeke Black Widow or whether you're talking you know, the Tonka blood, or you talking, you know, Eli Carver, or Jeep Red Boy, Jeep Rascal, you know, Mayday, you know, you got the Jocko and the Red Boy, you know, it's, you know, Eli crosses good with a lot of different stuff, you know, whether it's Bully Son, Eli Jr., or the Grow stuff. And for me, all three of them are different types of dogs and different breeders, even different structures. You know, the Bully Son dogs are more short and squatty generally, you know. The Eli Jr. stuff is more, you know, more on the, got more leg under them, you know. Even the temperaments are different. You know, the Bully Son dog, they're screaming demon, powerhouses, strong, intense. The Eli Jr. stuff, they're more quiet, more serious, you know, more, they look through you, man, like you ain't even there, you know. They got black eyes, man, like, you know, like you don't even exist, you know. Ninja was like that. The bottom side is you know, double rascal. So they don't show you a lot, but if you're looking at them, if they looking at you, it's like it almost looks evil, you know. Where the Bully Son stuff, they vocal, man. They gonna, you know that they coming, and they gonna just, you know, they're kind of like a Mike Tyson or a Joe Frazier, you know. And you know, the O'Leal stuff crosses good with a lot of stuff, you know. The white dogs were real consistent, you know. Back then, we kind of had a rivalry with them, you know, Jeep dogs against the white dogs, you know. I think we ended up about 50-50. You know? We beat them, they come back and beat us. We would go back and do that and this, back and forth like that. It was good time, you know. They're kind of like a Bullet, Kobe Lightner cross, you know. The females, you know, Ma and Sandy that Bill Petrie had, they were from Carver or Ed Crenshaw Snow, a little 4-time winner. Mm-hmm. They crossed that to Moore's Champion White Bandit, who was a pretty tight, you know, cotton bullet bred dog. That was the beginning of the white dog.
Well,
they bred.
Go ahead. Go ahead and finish up. Go ahead and finish that up.
I was going to say they took that Bullet, you know, Kobe Lightner stuff in Garner and Steve's Bart, and they bred it to the Heinzel stuff from Bill Lee. That's where Champion Bullshit and Champion Alien and Gap come from, you know. And then they bred a white bitch, Sandy, I think it was, to Red Baby's brother, Baby Spike, and that's where Red Danger came from. He was a 2-time winner, 2-time best in show. So the white blood crossed good with Heinzel stuff, crossed good with Molio stuff, crossed House, you know, crossed good with Red Boy stuff, and just, you know, them dogs were known for being durable and game, man. They were long distance dogs. Steve used to say, the fight don't start till after the hour mark, and you know, times. Look at the distance. They were so rugged and durable. If they got you into deep water, they was probably gonna win, you know.
What about Anderson's Red Baron? How do you like his dogs?
Same. They were, you know, similar to the Polio stuff, because they had some, you know, he wasn't, Red Baron wasn't, but those were distance dogs, you know. They were rough too, known for heart, you know. But they crossed that to the Tonka stuff. They crossed it to Matson's Champion Fred T stuff, you know. I had a little bit of it. I bred Bill to a Red Baron Tonka Fred T bitch. Got some good dogs out of that. And like I said, Ronnie Anderson, he was a good bred man. He had that stuff, you know. He had alligator stuff, you know, a little bit of Carver, this and that. It's a lot of that stuff up in that area was Tonka. They call it Zeke Black Widow or Spike Black Widow, you know, the Maloney blood, You know, again, it's a Dibo Colby cross, basically what a lot of that is. You know, Burton's Grand Champion Hank comes down from that stuff. All the Oklahoma, northern Texas area. You know, some of it in Louisiana with Fontenot's Booger. You know, he was the grandson of Spike and Black Widow. You know, them dogs were known for game and just unbelievably game. Kind that'll make the hair stand up on your neck, the back of your neck. A lot of speed, just a lot of heart. You know, they're good dogs. You're bringing back some memories, man.
Okay, now tell me about Champion K. I got her up on the board.
Yeah, she was a nice little female, man. Her litter, she was sired by Champion Bill out of Lucy. And Lucy was out of Champion Ninja and Miss Rowdy, who's Big Red's sister. And she was just, you know, crazy, mean, nasty, you know, lovable bitch, but just a mean, nasty bitch. And, you know, with her and her sister, you know, that was getting to where, you know, all this stuff is my breeding. So I looked at them one time, I bred them, I finished them out, you know, and then again I had to get rid of them. So I sold her to Joey in Guam, and he made champion with her. But she was just a, man, if she would hit a spot, you know, like she hit the shoulder, right? She would go back to that spot. She might take other shots, but she would go back to that spot until she ruined it, you know, just intense. And she was a small bitch, so I would have most of the stuff I put her on, you know, were bigger than her. So here's something I would do too, you know, if I put them together and it's a bigger dog, I let the bigger dog whip them a little bit, you know, then I'd get that big dog, I'd flip them over, hold them down, and let the little dog get their shot too, you know. That was part of my schooling too. I'd trip them up sometimes, you know, hold them down, you know, just let them, you know, they was just an intense, crazy. Her sister was a 2-time winner. Her brother won 2 and then lost in 2.5 hours. And then we beat a 4-time winner with her brother Hammer, Pat Gomez, a dog named, I think his name was CJ. That was at the convention where one got busted, where I ended up going to jail. And Hammer won in an hour 40. They were just good, solid dogs. I never told people, you know, I had killers and I had, like some people talk. I just had good, solid dogs that, you know, you could be proud of. Some of them could bite hard. Some of them couldn't. Most of them were fast and strong, intense. You know, it's good work ethic. You know, I don't like lazy dogs, so, you know, I like dogs that have a good work ethic. I've used some that just didn't, you know, for not. And I tried to raise mine that way. We love to do something. I don't care if it's swimming or duck. I got to where, you know, like I mentioned, I didn't really use any apparatus. I used a 10-speed bite because I lived out in the there's miles and miles of orchards and fields, you know. So I used that, and then I did a strength work, you know. It was a technique where I used Big Red for this. You know, as long as the dog, when he got older, as long as the dog wouldn't pull up on him, you know, he was okay around him, you know. So I would have my son walk in front of me with Big Red, and then I'd have the dog I'm working in a working harness behind them, and they're pulling, trying to get the Big Red. That was my strength. And I'd do that up to 4 miles. I'd run them 8 to 10 miles on the night. I was doing an 8-week keep, you know, it would be 8 miles road work, or 4 weeks road work, and then 4 weeks strength work, 3 weeks strength work, running, finish them out the last week, keep them out.
I have a question from Manny Rodriguez. Manny says, do you think those lines as of today are better or worse off due to the inbreeding? And what do you think they lack compared to the past? Jeep dogs, for example.
Right.
What were they most known for?
What's that? That last part, what was it?
He said, the Jeep dogs, what were they best known for?
The Jeep dogs?
Yes, sir.
Speed, strength, intensity. You that's the ones I like anyway. I'm hearing some where they do this and that, maybe head fighters. They shouldn't be like that. They should be rough. They hit all the spots: chest, shoulder, throat. Sometimes they'll go to the stifle. The Jeep would go to the stifle. Big Red would go to the stifle. If he liked the shoulder and stifle. This Rowdy would stay mostly in the front end, high up on the neck. That's one thing I kept in my dogs too. If the dog got on their head, I like them to get in the throat, get them out. It's hard to get the dog off your ears or your head, or the muzzle. But if the dog can figure out, or you can put it in them, where they turn their head and shoot for that throat, they'll get them out every time. You don't even have to be a hard biter because you're just choking them. And if you can't breathe, you can't fight. It's that simple. So that was an effective trait that I tried to keep in all my dogs. My buddy who got a lot of my dogs, he kept that there too, plus the speed and what was the first part of that question again?
Compared to the past.
Oh, the dogs today compared to the past.
You're right. Based on the inbreeding.
Inbreeding.
Right.
Inbreeding has its place, and it's good. But some people, they chasing it, and they do it too much. And you're not using the right individuals you should use with your inbreeding. Because the traits are so concentrated, whatever is bad is going to come out first. So you try and eliminate as many negatives as you can when you inbreed. Your dog should be young and healthy, no mental quirks or mental deficiencies, no structure problems, no internal organ problems, And for me, you only need to inbreed a little bit. But people, more now than before, they chasing papers. They looking at pedigree. And you look at, a pedigree, the inbred dog, this and that, it looks impressive to go, wow, wow, wow. Well, if they're good, that's great. Most of them ain't. If you go through the history of the breed, if you're looking at performance, most of them are not inbred dogs. A lot of them are. You could probably name thousands of them that were winners and champions and POR and ROM and all that crap going way back. But you're talking about millions of dogs, that's a low percentage. If not hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of dogs. It's not that many. And it's just the nature of breeding where you don't get that performance from the inbreed. The more you inbreed, you have more chances of having a negative effect coming from it. So inbreeding has a place. They all do. I preferred line breeding, loose line breeding, and tight line breeding more than outcrossing inbreeding. Because it's easy to capture the traits. They're not too tight where you have a lot of negative shit. You can keep your dogs going longer that way before you have to add a couple dogs to it. And if you want to inbreed, you can do it because there's crosses in those line breeding. I'll say this about comparing dogs, and I've done this before, comparing dogs with the past any time in the future or any time in the past. Good dogs are good dogs, whatever era they're in. It don't matter. But the dogs today, the great dogs today, or the good dogs today, go back to the past and compete with Peter Spike and Blackjack Jr. and Lloyd Captain Pilot and Patty and all that. Yeah, but them dogs, they were able to come here and compete. Yeah, because a good dog is a good dog. It don't matter. There's not really anything that could change that part of it. Where people can improve is you can improve your dog's individually. You can start out at a certain level and you can make those dogs better. And you can make them work. Inbreeding is too much. Inbreeding is one of the ways to make them work. I don't care what anybody says. And I'm all about fact. It's hard to get a lot of fact on the breed throughout the history, but there's some there. And if you do enough research, you'll see certain patterns, certain statistics. Heavily inbreeding dogs, have there been successful? Yeah, I know a couple. Bob can tell you all about it. The Toro dogs in Mexico, those were heavily inbred Eli dogs, fully trained dogs. as game as you want, tough, still had good mouth. But it was, you know, you have to be real selective with those dogs. You got to call heavy with those types of dogs, not just the Toro dogs, any inbreeding dog. You got to do it with the red boy dog. You got to do it with Jeep dogs. You can inbreed Jeep dogs for, yeah, generally 3 generations. After that, you better be careful. It's something, a pattern that I've seen over years. So good dogs are good dogs no matter what. And have the dogs improve? Yes. With individual breeders, individual dogs, yeah. Overall, because there's a lot more dogs and a lot of people breeding, just breeding dogs, breeding on paper. Overall, you know, the breed has not improved that way. But have, like I said, have certain individuals, yeah. Are the dogs better than they were back then with these individuals? Yep. Yeah, you have to improve. You have to evolve. And there's guys that know how to do it. Some of the, you know, if you want to make a comparison, back in the day, people, they did travel. Some people traveled across the United States. Some people popped into Mexico. You know? But because of the nature of the game, the way it's gone with the laws and all that, you have people traveling a lot more than they used to back then. I'm talking different countries. You know, 1,500 miles is not nothing. And I'm not speaking current, but I'm speaking back during the time when I left. It started getting that where they, you know, it was getting hot and heavy. So people they would just leave, or they would go across the ocean, or they'd go to Thailand, or they'd go to, you know, Philippines, something where the laws are not so heavy. Mexico, same thing. So you have guys, you know, where in Mexico it used to be Baja was heavy, you know, Monterrey, kind of, you know, Mexico City had. Now they're, you know, at some point it went all over Mexico. It didn't matter what part. You could be down in the Yucatan Peninsula, in Baja, Mexico City, Morelia, all over Oaxaca, everywhere. All these dogmen in Mexico are feeding regularly, all over, traveling all over. And eventually they would end up going to Central and South America. You know,
Big Stepman has a question for you. Big Stepman has a question for you. Is there a difference in the Constitution between the dogs of yesterday than the ones of today?
I think the dogs were more durable back then by the nature of how people were, how dogs were raised, and the culling process. You know, as time went on, you see more dogs having more allergies, having more ailments, having more physical problems, you know, internal or whatever. And it can speak to the breeding too. You know. In the past, you know, you had a litter of pups, and this was just normal. You know, and it didn't matter if it was livestock or dogs, whatever it was. You know, you see some females that will be pushing pups away. They don't want to take care of them. Or they'll squash them and kill them, or just outright kill them. It doesn't mean that the mother is a bad mother. A lot of times it means she recognizes that's a fault. That's not a healthy individual. So they weeded out their stuff. You know, as time went on, when people would see that, they'd save that pup. They would do what, you know, they bottle feed or this and that. You know, I mentioned my wife bottle feeding. There was nothing wrong with it. She just wanted a baby. But a lot of times people will take these pups and save them. If you're saving something that the mother is telling you, you shouldn't save that pup. Let it die naturally, let it go its way, because there's something wrong with it. She recognizes, she could smell it, she could tell. So she's telling you the right thing to do, and people don't do it. Or they have some hip dysplasia or some, you know, heart problem or something. People will spend thousands of dollars saving these dogs. In my opinion, they can save them, because they're going to save them and breed them. Just to say, oh, I saved them, or this dog's bred a certain way, look at that. You shouldn't do that. If you want to have good dogs, that's what you have to maintain. So I would say, you know, dogs were more durable in the past than in later years.
Well, I have Big Rowdy on the screen. And my question to you is, give us a little insight on Mr. Rowdy.
Mr. Rowdy. Yeah, that was I mentioned him. That was he was out of Big Red and Fissy. His brother was a two-time winner, Clayton Blood. He won in 1:39 and 2:43. He was a head dog. He didn't have hardly no mouth, but he was smart, fast, game. You know, just had the best air in any dog I've ever seen ever. You know, first time I rolled them, they were probably 14, 15 months old. Middle of summer, I put them on his brothers, Mr. Rowdy and DJ. He went 30 minutes and didn't even take a breath. That was their first roll. The other brothers got 15 minutes each, and Clayton Blood got 30 minutes. He never took a breath. Close to 100 feet. The pit was outside in the day. So, you know, I did that sometimes just to see where their air was, you know.
Mm-hmm.
If you run a dog hot, it don't take a lot before they're breathing heavy, and you'll see if they want to touch it. Again, I'm talking about the past and history and an example of how I used to do it. But Mr. Rowdy, you know, my wife, she does babies. She took him from his mama when he was about 4 weeks old and just started bottle feeding him, you know, put a little diaper on. He was sleeping in bed with her and like that. And he got real close to her, you know. It just turned out to be, to me, he was picking the litter. So wound up, so dominant, you know. But you could tell he was going to be soft. Same way, he reminded me of that Ronnie dog from Boyle, intense, always busy, always doing something, you know, always looking for a fight. That was on his mind. So I schooled him probably 3 times and then I matched him.
I have a question. What is one of your most memorable moments in the dog game?
Man, there's so many of them, you know. I guess my first convention, it was a 4-match show. You know, I didn't win on that convention, but it was just, I felt, you know, and I'm in this now. I'm doing it, you know. Like I said, there's been so many. With so many conventions, anywhere from $4 to $5 on the show to $16, $18. Most of the big ones I went to, they would do it up. They'd have music, mariachi, food, banners, posters all over. You know, been down there with Danny Burton, Don Devine, you know, met, you know, Antonio Bayonne, you know, the Bayonne Club, they were famous back in the day. Mr. Ledesma, a lot of old, Pato Martin, you know, Rico Martin's son, you know. Martin is probably one of the most, if not the most famous man in Mexico. He used to come up to the U.S. and Texas and Louisiana fight at the conventions way back in the 50s. We had the Sioux Fowler Red Lady Club, the Continental Booger stuff. They have Handicap, which is old Leo's brother down there. They have a lot of the famous dogs up here, especially the Eli dogs, Bully Stone, like those stuff. You know, famous ones, whether you're talking about Bully Stone, like Rascal, Midnight Cowboy. You know, they had either litter mates for them dogs or offspring from them. A lot of them, you see litters, you know, you'll see, you know, there's Midnight Cowboy and Chivo in the litter. Where the other litter mates? Some of them are
Wow.
Leo's brother, Handicap, he probably won 8 and lost 1. He went down there. Man, they've been hot and heavy. They probably had dogs since the 30s, but off and on, you know, not real. Once the 50s hit, and they went hot and heavy in Mexico, I don't think it's hot for this age.
So tell me about your book. You write books. Can you?
Oh yeah.
Just
They're
give us some insight.
self-published, which means, you know, I write them, I put them all together, then I send them to a publisher, and they print them up for me. First one I wrote was Big Red. It's about him, his son, other people's dogs. Got articles on gaming, pedigrees, other pictures. Second book is called Family Bred and Raised. Pretty much my career, and it's got some articles there too on breeding, brood bitches, pups, stuff like that. And all inclusive, kind of with some good information. And then I sell my teeth. I got t-shirts, breaking sticks, sporting dog journal, different magazines. You know. I'm working on a third one now. It's going to be called Dogs, Dogmen, and Bloodline. It's going to give, you know, a lot of credit to competitors I knew, breeders I knew, bloodlines I was familiar with, on different matches. I like to write matches. I kind of got that from George Armitage. He writes about the matches he was involved with. And they used to do that, you know, in the boxing magazine too. They have a little write-up of the boxing matches. And I kind of took that model. I do that. I try to put you right there watching the show. On the blow by blow. It's a lot of well-known.
Okay, I have a question. Thank you for the super chat. Henry James, thank you for the super chat. Here's a question. Is there an overall difference in attitude between the U.S. and Mexican dogmen and how they go about bulldogging?
Well, I would say that maybe the difference is it's not that one is more serious about the game as the other, but as a rule, the Mexicans are not boastful that way. They're not really bragging. Some are, but they're more respectful. Now, if you go to a show, you're going to hear a lot of noise because they hoop and holler at everybody else. but I don't know. There's a lot of commonality because, you know, just the nature of the game, the competitiveness, you know, the respect that people have for each other. You know, a lot of guys from the U.S., they go down there and they do real good. Still there?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll get it going.
Okay, Mr. Garcia, we're back.
Sounds good. Glad to be back.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna take you right where I left off at. I've had Bulldozer on the screen.
Right. Yeah, that was. You want me to start from the beginning again?
Yes, sir. They missed all that.
Okay. Yeah, that was the last litter I bred. I think I used 3 cc's of sperm AI breeding. I got 11 pups. There were several winners in that litter, most of them by OTK. Bulldozer was a 2-time winner, and the name fit. He was rough and strong like his daddy, Louis. And his mama was, that's Louis and Sandy, I think.
Mm-hmm.
His mama was game, not much ability, good producer. Louis was a real good son of Big Red. That's the one dog I advised OTK, and he paid attention. He didn't match him. He was match worthy. But, you know, that was the last of it, you know.
Well, okay.
So he used him as a stud dog. He produced a lot of good dogs. Polo and different ones. And there were 11 pups in that litter. And I think 9 of them were matched.
Wow.
Like that. 8 or 9.
Okay, I got a super chat. I have a super chat. Mr. Garland, thank you for the super chat. His question is, what do you think about the gardenia dogs?
About what?
The gardenia dogs?
I'll quote a fellow Mexican dog man. The Cardenas dogs are the hardest fighting dogs in Mexico. That'll give you a little idea of what they're about, you know. Some people, you know, you talk about hard biting, and there's different levels, shall we say. You know? If you see a real hard biter, there's no question. It's different, you know, from other type of dogs that can bite hard. They do it without effort. They just taking whatever they're taking and they ruin it, or they break it, or they do whatever, they disable it, you know. And those dogs have a propensity for doing that. You know. I've seen some of them. I don't know how they were bred because, like I said, people don't share their pets back then. They were rough as hell. You know, it comes from all them dogs that originally came from Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma area, all that Carver. You know, at that time, Carver was sending dogs down there, Boudreaux, Victor Witzel, Bobby Hall, you know, and they love mouth down there, you know. A lot of them have, they incorporated other stuff, you know, like everybody else, but I would say the basis for all their stuff is Eli, you know, Billy son, Eli, that kind of. And then, like everybody else, you had Bodillo, you had, you know, even the Mayday stuff, you know, to try different things here and there. And Baja, you know, the Chinaman, Little Gator stuff was real popular, you know. I'm sure that's still going down there.
What about the Bloodline Club?
Same thing. It's heavy, you know, Eli with some Spike Black Widow stuff, you know. They had a lot of good dogs. They were real active. You know, Mr. Gray, who's here, he was part of that club. He's probably one of the best, if not the best, conditioners I ever seen. I'm talking someone who can travel, you know, 1,500 miles at 300-foot elevation, match a dog at over 12,000 feet elevation, and you don't see a slip or a flaw or nothing. You know, some of the guys like OTK back in the day, you know, them guys would travel long distances, get there 30 hours before the show, and go kick ass on the show.
Wow.
That takes knowledge, experience, you know. You hear a lot of different things, you know, like some people say if you're gonna go a long distance, you gotta get there 3-4 days earlier, maybe a week earlier. They don't do that. They didn't do that, you know. I'm telling you, they leave Thursday night from here, whether they, you know, if they're flying, they get there Friday morning, get them ready, do their last feed, and they're good to go Saturday morning.
I wish mine would have did that when I went to Grand Champion Tommy Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I left my dog on the plane. She was not the same dog when I landed in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, it could do that to them, you know, and you know, sometimes you're switching planes, you know.
Yes, sir.
It ain't just a straight direct flight, you know. They're going here and there. I've seen, you know, OTK had a dog named Salt, and Danny Burton had him. I forgot the kid's name, but they had some kid condition, you know. So he gets there, I think he got there like 2 days earlier, but he had trouble getting through customs. They wouldn't let him go. So Salt sat in that kennel for 31 hours straight. He pissed and shit in that kennel. I don't know if they fed him or not or whatever. But OTK finally got a hold of somebody he knew down there in customs and got him out. So that dog went through all that. They fed him up that morning. Next morning's the show, and he won in 44 minutes, man. Both shoulders out of that.
Wow.
And that's just a testament to the knowledge, a testament to the dog too that can do that, you know. Where you go through all that and the dog performs like he should. What they gave him, what they do to him, I don't know, you know. But he was good to go, man.
Wow.
His half-sister Daisy, she won Best in Show that night. That was an 11-card show. She masticated that bitch for 22 minutes. Had her upside down, sideways. And they declared her winner. Danny Burton stood up and he goes, "You ain't gonna beat that bitch." He's a badass bitch. So these are big shows that are good people.
Well, schoolboy, I'm gonna get ready to take this down to the basement. It's been, I gotta get out here and let all my people know it's been a pleasure. And guys, you already know what we do here. We have to throw them roses. Please give up them roses. Give up them roses, them muscles.
Thumbs up, thumbs up!
Here it comes.
Thumbs up, thumbs up! Muscles! 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 Roses! Roses! Roses to the man! Roses to this man!
There you go, fellas. Show that love. Show that love. Hey guys, while we doing this, while we going through this, don't forget, Fat Bill has a private channel. Help him out. Okay, he's got a raffle going. If you sign up, you can get in that raffle. He's gonna be giving dogs and all kinds of little memorabilia away. So, hey, let's get out there and support Fat Bill, y'all. Don't forget, Welcome Down Kennels as well. My boy, shout out. What's up, baby? We got you coming up. I think we're gonna have Welcome Down Kennels. I'm still in negotiation. I hope he come on Tuesday. He's the final sweep. Big stepping. That's right. I got the final sweep. If I can get Big Stepping up in here on the show, we can go through his line. I got the Big Step up in here. It'll be another day.
Clean sweep, baby. Clean sweep.
Clean sweep. One of the best full shows that you could ever ask for. I mean, I'm honored and I'm privileged, and I know you guys have enjoyed them. The numbers speak for themselves. The numbers speak for themselves. I'm going to try to do the best I can to bring more of these great old dog mans out here to educate, speak they past, and continue showing that we are a fraternity. You know, to take us old school players to show you young school players that we can provide the education and the moving forward into the future, then this is where it's going to start at. I mean, what better place to come where you got a fraternity of dog man to stepping up there and step in here with me and give y'all the shows that they have given. I'm honored, and I hope you guys are just as honored.
Damn it! Roses! Roses! Fucking roses!
They got knockout punches. They got all kind of stuff out there. They showing the love. That's what we call people going hard, reloaded room. You already know what's up, fellas. We treat them like we beat them, all right? We treat them like we beat them. We treat them all the same. Show the love. Thank you so much. Mr. Garcia, I would like
Schoolboy! Schoolboy! Fucking schoolboy!
Schoolboy, I gotta come at you and and you gotta let us know. You got guys out here that's probably interested in your book. You got guys out here that's probably interested in your key. Where do we need to get in touch with you to get this information? Do I need to have them send me information and then it's all right for them to send them, any requests? They can send them to our Going Hard website, and I will make sure that Mr. Garcia get them. So if you send them to us, I will make sure. Now, Mr. Garcia, before I let that part go, can you let us know what the books cost, what they need, or do you want me to do it through the email? How you want me to do this?
Yeah, I appreciate that, and they can get a hold of me through Messenger, Richard Garcia.
Y'all hear that, guys?
Or my email is all small letters, Richard J Schoolboy 60 at gmail.com. But probably the easiest would be through Messenger. Just look me up, I just want to say I appreciate being on the show. Thanks to the hosts, the twins. Thanks for everybody tuning in, the chat, and much love, man. Keep it going. You guys are doing an awesome job. You have all my respect.
And you definitely got all ours. Okay, guys, one more time, man. One more time for Mr. Garcia. It's definitely been an honor, Mr. Garcia. I hope we can have you back, because you still, there's so much more to you. You're like a walking Bible at a dog game. You know what I mean? So I would be. Sure. But the invitation is always open. You're always invited. All you have to do is call and let me know. If there's something out there that you want the crowd, the people to know, please don't hesitate to stop by, and you got my support.
Thank you, sir. It's been a pleasure. Schoolboy!
Much love. The honor was mine.
That's right, y'all. Y'all know what it is. I'm gonna have Mr. Garcia scratch out with us on this one, y'all. That's right. We're gonna have Mr. Garcia scratch out on this one with us, fellas. You know what I'm saying? He hold me down in the corner. He came up in here, he did some hellified scratching. He did some hellified storytelling. How can you beat it? Today was a good day. All day.
Great day.
So look here, guys. I'm gonna give him the final note before I make my final move. Mr. Garcia, with the beat going. Let us know.
Respect. Anytime, I'd love to do this again. I appreciate the opportunity. Respect you guys. And peace out, brothers. Keep it going. Keep it going.
You got it, sir. We got you.
All right. You take
Thank
care.
you. You take care, sir.
Talk soon. Have a good one.
Y'all got to admit, today was a weekday, and then it turned into a weekend. And that's where we at right now. We are kicking into the weekend. What a hell of a show. I know we got to thank Mr. Garcia. I got so much respect for the man, I can't even call him schoolboy. I'm going to get along to the dog part of this. Give him to represent that name, but when you got so much love for a person, so much respect for him, being a Marine, that's like talking to the general to me. You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel about all my people. You know what I'm saying? He's another person that I add to my repertoire of great men I met in the dog game. Look at the names that he named. Can you imagine the names that he named? Man, imagine that. Y'all read about the shit while he was out there hanging out with the shit, all right? So much love to Mr. Richard Schoolboy Garcia. I know, you already know. Come on, fellas. I need y'all to go ahead and get me out of here. What's up, baby boy? You stepping in?
Look, man, nigga working overtime, man.
All day.
All day, man. Hold on. Great show. Hey, to my moderators, great job out there. To the
Always.
chat, man, let me tell you, that chat was hot tonight, man. Hot. Moderators to the chat, great job. Believe me, our hosts definitely love and respect everything you guys do when you come in. That's why they try to give you as much knowledge as possible. So hopefully y'all breaking out them pens and pads and sitting there taking some notes, man. Because hey, can't get it no better than this, bro. So until the next time, we gonna see y'all what? Talk Shit Tuesday.
Talk Shit Tuesday.
Talk Shit Tuesday. Y'all know what's up.
Come on.
Yeah, until then, y'all know what we do.
Y'all already know what we do.
Hold on. I gotta get something going on here. Wait a minute. Wait, I got one more thing to do. One more thing.
This is coming from Rack City.
Bouncing House!
That's the Rack City, baby. That's the Rack City, baby. Come on. That's a shout out to the big Rack City.
I'm still driving the boat, bro. I'm drive the boat. Yeah.
All right, Tip Tuesday, guys.
Yeah.
You already know what we do. You put me back into the corner, you know your money good.
Always.
Your money good.
Always.
You know what I'm saying?
You know why?
You know why?
I know why.
You know why?
Y'all know
why. Because we always scratch to win.
Y'all know what's
See?
up. Check you out in the parking lot. Check you out in the parking lot. Peace.
That's right, guys. Hit them like buttons on the way out, man. Show the love. Let me get them subscribers, newcomers, subscribers.
Once again, I'd like to give a shout out to the chat. Shout out to Schoolboy, Mr. Richard Garcia. Great show tonight, fellas. Don't forget to hit those like buttons. For all the new people, don't forget to hit those subscribe buttons. Thank you for watching the show. Much love. We're here going hard, Kennels. Reloaded. Really appreciate everyone. I mean every dog man who stops in and watches the show. We appreciate it. Hats off to you. Salute. 100. Muscles. Thumbs up, thumbs up. Many roses. Many roses. Supreme excellence. What's up, fam? Thank you, sir. I'd like to give a big shout out to 7-8 the General for stopping by, and his host, Rasta Man Boom, Bakari Hotep, Richard Garcia, Schoolboy, and don't forget, we're gonna have Welcome Down Big Steppin' Tuesday on Talk Shit Tuesday, the Professor. So, I look forward to seeing everybody Tuesday. And again, walking down around Big Steppin', y'all still in the parking lot. Damn, baby. You see, I'm still hanging out with you. Definitely see you Tuesday. Looking for that clean sweep, baby. That royal flush, hands down. Some of the baddest men in the game. Tuesday, we're gonna have the Professor. Walking down Ram, big stepping in the house. Royal flush, baby. parking lot is now closing. The parking lot is now closing. I don't know where y'all gonna go, but I know one thing. You're finna get the hell up out of here. Don't forget to hit them like buttons. Don't forget to hit them like buttons. And we're gonna do it like this. Hit those subscribe buttons. Don't forget, I will see you Tuesday. Special guest. Welcome down Ram Big Steppin'. The professor will be on Tuesday. Talk Shit Tuesday show. So y'all be there. Peace. And me out.